Greenwood. Get you.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to tonight's Greenwood City Council meeting on this Monday, November, not 4th, that's what it says, Thursday, the 7th, thank you. Thursday, the 7th at 7:03 p.m. Ms. Deary, would you call the roll for us, please?
Yes. AC Brown,
Here.
Ralph Meeker,
Here.
Tim Terry is absent. Roger Rainwater.
Here.
Steve Tedford is absent. Rod Powell.
I'm here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you very much. If everyone would please stand, we'll begin our meeting this evening with a prayer by Chief Brad Hobbs and follow with Pledge of Allegiance, and I'll lead us in the pledge.
Father, we ask you to bless this meeting, bless these leaders as they make decisions for our community. We ask you to continue to bless our community in heartache. And we thank you for your for you watching over us, and we pray for the firefighters. It was been soul burdened lately, and we just ask this in your name. We pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated. Even before the minutes, I would like to just expound on what the prayer was. This town has been through a lot in the last week or two. We all know it. We all know exactly what happened. Please remain prayerful for everybody, the family, of course. But I'm going to emphasize the fire department tonight. Police department for sure. Those guys were there. I was out there for a few hours and was just there. But the police were there, did an outstanding job. The fire department, above and beyond the call of duty. I know that gets thrown around a lot, but those guys made every effort to do what they needed to do and stayed and continue to work on it. I will tell you, Ryan continues to deal with the not just in his own mind, of course, as they all do and will carry for the rest of their lives. But the calls that he gets from everybody asking questions and everything. So please consider the chief and the fire department and the police department in your prayers, because they've got, as the family does, it's going to take a long time to heal. So thank you for that, and expect you to do that. And we give God the praise for that and for what the healing he's going to do. So moving on, I would ask the council if they've had an opportunity to consider approval of the minutes for the October 7th regular city council meeting and the October 16th special called council meeting.
I make a motion to approve them as written. Second.
We have a motion and a second.
Mr. Brown,
Yes.
Mr. Meeker,
Yes.
Mr. Rainwater,
Yes.
Mr. Powell.
Yes.
Unanimous.
Thank you. Recognition acknowledgements. I did that a little early, but also, and if I failed to do this, the forestry department I know was a big part of not that fire, but the day of that fire. These guys were, both departments, police and fire, were up on Hilltop fighting a wildland fire, I guess what it was, for basically all day. Went home, got a couple hours pause, and then went back out to the tragic house fire. So, but forestry department, I know. Was there anybody else that county was up there? Greenwood rural. Okay, and they were at the house fire. Okay. Yeah, yeah. Yep, yep. Sure. Yep. Amen to that. And obviously we have two councilmen, Councilman Brown, Councilman Powell here that is part of the fire department, did a great job. And, you know, I was just there watching and observing, and everybody was doing what they do. And it was just, you couldn't have asked for anything better from the departments for sure. So thank you guys. Moving on, committee reports. I really didn't get a chance today. I was out of town most of the day and see what all came in. I'm assuming we got most of the reports. If you did not, as always, please let myself know or Danielle. We'll get you the information you need. There's only a lot of guys are out tonight, sickness and or, but you've got 4 departments here. So, but if you see something you need to know or ask about, let us know. Citizen forum, no one signed up this evening, so we'll move on from that. I do want to recognize tonight Shane Monaco is our reporter here from the River Valley Democrat Gazette. I'm informed that Shane is our reporter, all ours. So we're gonna use him a lot. Thomas Asinte moved up to Northwest Arkansas and is enjoying life up there. We see him on Facebook all the time. So, you know, Thomas rode a bicycle about 150 miles a day. So I don't know, Shane, I'm not up to that. So, but thank you for being here, and we'll get you a lot of stories. So hopefully mostly good.
Mhm.
Thank you. We'll do it. Thank you. We will go to finance report, Mr. Tom Marsh. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
E-bike.
E-bike. Yeah, that's the kind I'm going to get to.
Yeah, just park it whenever it runs out of battery power. Okay, for the financial report, I'm going to do a little bit more of a deep dive, and I have some additional information to share regarding the taxes. What you'll see up on the screen first is the city sales and use tax. The cumulative growth is now above our budgeted 4.5%. We're right at 4.3%, and that's a growth of a little under 0.5% for the city as far as the city sales and use tax is concerned. County sales tax, not quite the same picture. For cumulative growth, it's no longer growth. It's not a growth. It has never been a growth this year. As far as the trend is concerned, the county sales tax is 5.72% below what we budgeted. That's a trend that we started seeing early, and you were watching it materialize. I'm going to do a deep dive on both of those numbers again to kind of show you what's happening, and I give rationale as to why it's happening the way it is as far as the city versus county is concerned. As far as advertising and promotion, I've also will do a quick little speech on that. The AMP, we budgeted at 5%. The cumulative AMP tax growth for right now, as of the end of the month of October, was 3.98%. That's down 1.02, or right at 1% from what we budgeted. Usually we're kind of close and right on that. But I'm going to share with you what is some of the driving factor as to why that occurred. It has to do with a lagging remittance by certain taxpayers for the AP tax. In the month of November, the first week, we received several payments for the September to the extent of $2,604 came in late. So if I revise that, as of 11/6, those monies came in after the end of the month. So by going back and doing a revision, we're actually at 5.43% had they remitted on time. And that is a 0.43% above what our 5% budget was. So I'm not alarmed at that. It's had more to do with timeliness of remittance rather than just decrease in sales. Dive is concerned, I want to point out at the very top, sales and use tax, the month of October over same year was 12.97%. That was an incredible increase, probably one of our highest for the year. And remember, the numbers that we collected, not collected, but was remitted to us in October reflect August's sales. So cumulatively, we went up from 3.92% to 4.83%. So I will show that's right at what we budgeted and where I thought we probably will end the year right at our budget. Now I'm going to go down to the county, and the county sales tax October over previous year was down 8.13%. Normally they kind of follow the same pattern, but there's some reasoning behind why this is occurring. So what that did to our cumulative is took us from 0.44% down to a 1.22% decrease. So last year in 2023 cumulative, we had 2.2 million, and now we're at 2.18. So we're not even at where we were flat for last year. I'm hoping that will come up, but I'm going to share with you some of the deep dive numbers as to what's going on. This is the city sales and use tax for 2023 October and 2024 October, and what the change was as far as that 12.97%. Greenwood were the only two cities that experienced positive growth in the city sales and use tax over same period previous year. All the other cities decreased in their city sales and use tax. Remember, Central City and Lavaca don't have city sales and use tax, so that's what's not reflected there. But I will tell you that 12.97% growth is significant for a lot of reasons, but I will go down and say that overall there was a county decrease in the distributed city sales and use tax of 62.18% for the county. Fort Smith, you look at Barling was 70% last month. This month they're at 30%. So there was some kind of a little bit of a recovery from the loss that I explained last month at the meeting, where they had 4 significant payers or collectors of sales tax stop business. Hurt them immensely. Good news is, and they're now doing business in Barling, and that should help their city use tax a little bit more. Going to the county sales tax, everybody, remember, this is a share one, share all. So everybody experienced a negative 8.13% decrease in their county sales tax distribution because it's distributed per capita. But you can see that it affected us by about $18,268. That was our distributed portion of the overall total loss, which in the county was $245,000 from the previous year. Normally you expect, even with inflation, you expect if the sales numbers are stable, that number should at least be increased by the amount of inflation because you pay the tax on the inflated amount. So we go to the taxable sales for the county and we look at the impact it had. This is the October taxable sales in 23 and the total taxable sales in 24 based on the city sales and use tax, and for the counties the county and the cities that don't have, we based it on the actual county tax. So what you're looking at is a decrease of $24 million between the 23 taxable sales amounts that were collected in 23 and the 24 taxable sales. 24 million. If you remember last month, that was right at 10 million. So July's sales were down $10 million in 24 from 23. This is down 24 million. But if you look at Greenwood and you look at Midland, their taxable sales, we're up $21,000 versus 171 concern on the impact to county. So larger loss by the amount that we collections that we had based on our sales. So that's where the 18,200 and this calculates at 78 due to the administrative fee. But the impact on Greenwood, that $24,000 and that 21,000 increase that we had in the city, we can contribute that to what's going on with our road. The amount of people, why are we up and everybody else is down? Well, we have a big road project going on right now, and those road project people are buying and eating and doing business here and buying supplies, and that's really helping us. So one way to look at it is that $5 million investment that you all approved several years ago for the bond for that road is already paying dividends to the city, whereas nobody else has those kind of projects going on right now that's contributing to the increase. You can say that that is a return that we're getting, and they haven't even put a car on that road yet. So that's a positive for us. Now let's go to the other side and say, well, what's happening with the $24 million loss in the sales as far as sales is concerned? Well, in August, they had a tax-free sales weekend. And so that tax-free sales weekend had a lot to do with the fact that there was a lot of sales going on that no tax was collected in the county and in the city of Fort Smith and various places. So that's where that $16 million Fort Smith loss, a lot of it's contributed to that. Still, it does reflect, though, a sentiment of there was less spending going on as far as the other cities are concerned. So if you looked at it from that perspective, it's got a story unto itself. The story is that we've got a positive going on with the amount of activity that we have with the road construction, and then we have a double whammy for the county was the fact that there was a whole weekend of sales that were done for the back to school that there was no collections on in August. So you normally see a dip. That's a larger dip than normal. That might have something to do with the economy as well. So moving on from the tax, unless you have any questions on that, I just wanted you to see how it all played out. Let's go to the cash flow. In the month of October, our decrease in cash, there's a lot of the projects are starting to incur a lot of major capital projects are starting to incur some of the expense now that are being paid. And we had a negative $522,000, $522,000 decrease in cash flow for the month of October. Our year to date is an increase of $861,000, still significantly impacted by the $750,000 that was the loan proceeds that has yet to be spent on actual paying of any of the debt due to the cash reserve in the bank. But we're going to be starting to have to pay now on that splash pad as far as the Crawford construction is concerned. Our current fund balance is $16,875,000. That's up 5.28% from what we started at the beginning. That's an all-in cash amount for the city. Our capital expense and capital improvements year to date in 2024, we've spent $2.5 million. We don't have to worry about the adjustments for the water sewers, $1.5 million taken out and the $1.2 million added back. That's already been adjusted as of the result of your resolutions that you approved in August. So these numbers now reflect the revised budget amendments that were approved. So that's 16.96% on a $15 million spend budget that we had in the budget for 2024, which is kind of indicating there will be significant carryovers going on and additional monies budgeted for 2025 in some of those projects. So that is your cash flow and capital expenditures. Any questions?
Out of that 15,000 on that prior page, how much is that's just delaying them, and what is all that?
The capital expense and improvements budget, that's both the hard assets that you purchased. Most of the hard assets were purchased in the first and second quarters of the year, right after the budget was approved. That's your trucks and your equipment purchases. So about 72% of our spend in capital expense for capital equipment. The rest is the capital projects that we have going on, the running of lines, moving things, fixing, repairing lift stations and all sort of things for the water sewer. 9 million of that is water sewers. There's a lot of street in there as well. Parks had the splash pad in there as well. So. And that 15 million includes street resurface projects as well.
Trail construction's in there too, I guess, obviously.
Anything that was
Not completely.
budgeted for this year. And you can, if you want to go back and look at exactly what that is, that budget study session, I gave you the actual detailed breakdown of every department and every capital item that they had, both hard asset and capital improvement project. And you can see exactly what their spend is through the last budget study session, through September's numbers.
And the expectation is all that will be carried over.
Unless they choose to abandon a certain project that had never got off the ground or started, yes.
Okay, any further questions or comments for Tom? Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Tom.
I'm gonna pause for a second. I forgot to do this a while ago, and please forgive our councilmen that are sitting here tonight. They are reelected on the 5th. So congratulations to Councilman Powell and Meeker for staying on board. So looking forward to working with you guys and getting some stuff done. So also, I was remiss to notice two very special guests in the audience tonight, Trace and Sailor Plummer. So if you'd stand, and we'd like to welcome you to City Hall. That's probably a future council lady and a mayor for sure. So anything you want to say to the crowd?
All jacked up on sugar.
Oh, they had a lot of candy. That's right. They were in the candy.
If I'd have known they were plumbers' kids, I'd have given them more sugar.
Well,
Back there
it's
drinking a Mountain Dew.
Danielle's giving them all the Halloween candy. Mountain Dew, yeah. All right. Moving on. Do I? Yes, sir. Thank you so much. I introduced him to Rocky Bucky in my office a while ago. Bucky sings about 15 different songs and plays music. So he's pretty cool, isn't he? Thank you. Appreciate that. Agenda additions, we have none, which is always good news, unless the council has any they need to add. If not, we'll move on to, and I think we're going to be able to, I'm going to dissect a couple of these things if council's okay with it. Old unfinished business. Number one is a street federal aid funds for streetscape. We tabled it. I'm prepared to, whatever you desire, either table it again. We're not going to be ready after budget study sessions, so we can remove it and just talk about it, discuss it in budget study sessions. We do have some better numbers, and he did a little tweaking. He is in Elliott Bell with Crafton and Told, did some more work on it, but we're not ready to present it yet. So I'll just remove it and then place it on our study session, if that's okay with council. Good?
Need a motion?
Yeah, let's do that. Yeah.
Withdraw it, yep.
I'll make a motion, we withdraw it.
Second.
Okay. Motion and second.
Mr. Brown,
Yes.
Mr. Meeker,
Yes.
Mr. Rainwater.
Yes.
Mr. Powell,
Yes.
it's unanimous.
Thank you. And we are not abandoning this at all because it's in full swing, but it's just going to take a while to get it. So we'll just talk about it when we talk about budget. Number two is going to be the same, I think. Street resolution to amend budget for Fox Run sidewalk construction. Unfortunately, Jeff is attending to his kids tonight. We don't really have, and Sonny's here to back me up on this, I guess, as we do know is that we've looked at the plans for this, and they are not good, in my opinion. It's a really odd design road. It's one way the gentleman that lives on the hill can't come down Fox Run. Once we completed, if we built it like we expect, he'd have to go all the way around or the other way around. I can't remember. And it does not even come close to meeting our minimal standard. So we've had a meeting before it inside, and we think, I didn't even want to show you the plans, to be honest with you. We can, but it's the width is crazy. The fire chief, I don't know how it got this far without us knowing it. I'll put it that way. So we're working with I want to remove it and have it placed on on our agenda for budget study session, because we'll come back. The original number that you got, and I can't remember what that was. Tom, do you have it to build as it is? Whatever that was, how much? About 1.4. If we, not if in my opinion, but when we do it to our own specifications, it's going to be a lot more than that. So I want to come back to you during the budget and show you what that needs to look like. If that,
When y'all go to a budget study, I mean, when you go to a study session on what this road should look like and meet standards that
Yep.
we've passed,
Mhm.
I mean, just keep in mind, Bell Park's a very, very busy park.
oh, I totally agree. That's why we're all going, this is,
And that hillside prone to wildfire. And if we
Mhm.
ever get a wildfire and you get all these people trapped, we need egress.
absolutely.
Egress going both ways.
Yeah,
Okay.
none of that, yeah.
We build a road, we build it to the spec that we make everybody else do. And that's probably my point and Hunter's and the mayor's point is that, Olson, who drew up the plan, came up with this wild design. There was no curb and gutter. It was one way going one way, going the other, no street light, no nothing. And I said, we can't approve that because we cannot do something less than what we make our developers do.
And this will not put on hold in any form or fashion the splash pad. They're going to continue to do what they're doing.
Sure.
So,
Well, I just, it's kind of like school. When school's busy, it's busy. You
Right.
need to have an out, but when it's not,
Absolutely.
there's a
And-
couple guys playing Frisbee.
yeah, and nothing will be closed down. I mean, the fire, if you had to go up there today, because I take that exit out. Now, there's a lot of construction with the splash pad, and you got to be careful. Look, there's about different giant machines up there, but they're parked off the road. So obviously you can get down or in that direction still on a gravel road. But when we get this thing built, it's going to be like it's supposed to be.
We get your trucks up there.
Yeah,
But if they design this road,
you couldn't.
it would kill that, the ability to go from Main Street up to the pavilion. You wouldn't be able to do it. from that perspective.
And of course, getting fire trucks up there is,
Talk to the planning department, and that was the issue.
of course, getting fire trucks up there, that's the goal, but getting people out,
Right.
out of danger.
Is it,
That's a,
is it supposed to be spec toward, as a residential road or as a collector or?
It would be like a local road. I don't know that we would consider it a collector, but it still would fall under it's still gonna have to be 27 foot wide, it's gonna have to have a curb and gutter, it's gonna have to have street lights, it's gonna have to have everything that we would require a developer to do. And again, it's gonna have fire chief. All of a sudden,
We're not,
it was put.
I know, excuse me, Sonny, I know I didn't get a chance, and I'm sure Sonny didn't. You may have, or I haven't talked to Olson personally, but we all I thought it almost looked like a joke. This is really not even a real plan. We were in Hunter's office looking at or the work office. So,
There's been an email sent out to all departments that any construction plan will go through the planning department before they are approved to the engineer.
absolutely.
And that was the thing we had. Water, wastewater was doing a project that we didn't, we had a street project going on that we didn't know anything about. And once those things started coming in, we just put a hold on it and says, go back to the drawing board.
Planning should be where everything starts, where everything is born.
mhm. So with that explanation, I'd like to ask you to remove this and put it on study session.
I'll make a motion, we withdraw it.
Second.
Study session.
Motion second?
Mr. Brown,
Yes.
Mr. Maker,
Yes.
Mr. Rainwater,
Yes.
Mr. Powell,
Yes.
it's unanimous.
Thank you. Number 3, new business city clerk treasurer ordinance declaring related party transaction for Talon Martin, emergency passage.
We paid a small check from the A&P fund to Chad and Gwen Martin's daughter for doing T-shirts out of the grant. And state law says that we have to do this ordinance one time for transparency for any relation of public official. And Gwen and Chad are on our commissions, wastewater and parks commission. So
Do we have that in front of us?
Yes,
Yes.
it's number 3.
It's on the back page.
Back, yeah, very back.
Very back.
We had already have all the services.
I think we worked
Yep,
it.
yep. So whenever somebody, we do this. It's not an authorization to pay them. It's that we paid them and you acknowledge that they are related.
Aren't we supposed to get this signed before paying?
No? Because, I mean, you need to do it really
Within-
soon after, like the next council meeting after the payment is made.
Yeah,
That the auditors
it almost
like that.
every one that we've done has been this way. Seems after the fact.
Yeah.
But that's how the auditors, they're good with it.
I'll make a motion, we put the ordinance on for first reading by title only.
Second.
Motion second.
Mr. Brown,
Yes.
Mr. Meeker,
Yes.
Mr. Rainwater,
Yes.
Mr. Powell.
Yes.
It's unanimous. An ordinance authorizing the city of Greenwood to conduct business with Taylor and Martin, declaring an emergency for other purposes.
I make a motion, we waive the second and third reading.
Second.
Motion second to waive.
Mr. Brown,
Yes.
Mr. Meeker,
Yes.
Mr. Rainwater,
Yes.
Mr. Powell.
Yes.
It's unanimous. Need a motion to adopt.
Oh, I'll make a motion, we adopt.
Second.
Motion second to adopt.
Mr. Brown,
Yes.
Mr. Meeker,
Yes.
Mr. Rainwater,
Yes.
Mr. Powell.
Yes.
I make a motion, we enact emergency clause.
Second.
Second.
Motion second to enact emergency clause.
Mr. Brown,
Yes.
Mr. Meeker,
Yes.
Mr. Rainwater,
Yes.
Mr. Powell.
Yes.
It's unanimous.
Thank you, gentlemen. I'm going to ask this one too. This is a stormwater study presentation. Hunter had asked the folks to come in. Where are they from, Sonny? Yeah, they came and visited us a while back and talked to us, Hunter and Sonny and I, and we had a great meeting, and they did a presentation of doing a study for us. And one of the gentlemen with them had a way to get some grant money. And was this, forgive me, we have a lot of meetings. Was this for a specific area or just in general? I think the city, and I think you're right. So they were scheduled to be here Monday night. They were going to come and do a presentation. Obviously, we postponed it for pending inclement weather, and Hunter was not able to be here tonight. So we're going to put him on, with your permission, we'll reschedule this for next month.
Do you want to table it?
Yes,
Motion to table.
Second.
thank you. Or motion second, sorry.
Mr. Brown,
Yes.
Mr. Meeker,
Yes.
Mr. Rainwater,
Yes.
Mr. Powell.
Yes.
Unanimous.
Okay, thank you very much. That was quick, but so department reports and questions from council.
We skipped city.
What did I skip? I'm sorry.
Four.
Oh, I'm sorry. Update on debate. I'm sorry, Travis, you're sitting right there. You could poke me.
Chop liver.
Number 4. I was on a roll. Travis is going to give us an update on the abatement foreclosure issue for Storecraft property. And I feel good about this. So it's all you, sir.
Well, I think I might have emailed you guys some updates as we went along, but we went to court Wednesday, as I showed you guys an email, and we basically what happened was they contested the foreclosure sale, so the judge set it aside. But what it was, we had a hearing to try to resolve the issue, and so end of the day, we were awarded our cost and our lien amount, and then interest on top of that, and my fees. So it was $17,991.66, I believe. And I was actually working on it right now. I'm working on the judge's order because I've been coordinating with Sonny and Hunter on what conditions need to be remedied at the property, because the lien funds being released to us was only a partial release of our lien. So the judge is going to allow us to, he's going to order some conditions that have to be met before the lien will be fully released. And Hunter got me a long list of things on the property that are out of code, in violation of our ordinance and violation of the mayor's order that was entered in the case. So we're currently working on that. I want to send that to the judge for review tomorrow, but, and I'm also talking to their attorney about making sure all my fees get on there, because I didn't have fees in that amount for the hearing or any prep that went into it. So on that and get him to stipulate to add that to the, so.
So this is a partial lien. You got a list of things to get this building up to code. What is the recourse and how much time does he have if he does not do those things?
Well, that was a question that was brought up at the hearing because I don't think the judge realized what property we were talking about. But when I asked him that, he kind of looked at me like, well, how much time would it take? And I was like, well, it's a big building. So,
Well, he asked how big, and we said 140,000 square feet, and he went, "Oh my gosh."
yeah,
He had no clue.
he knew what facility it was when we told him. But yeah, the mayor was there and Danielle had the footage for us and Hunter was there. And so anyway, we've been working, we've got a pretty long list of conditions that have to be met. I think we're going to try to get 90 days in there, but he seemed to think that would be pushing it. But again, we've got a lien on the property. The money coming to us is only a partial release of that. So they will have to comply. And the judge said that if they did, well, might order that it be sold.
It could come full circle. I'm hesitant to say, just a second, Chief, I'm a little hesitant to say what the judge said in his own courtroom, but when he found out where the owner lives, he was very cautious to say, I am all about protecting property owners' rights. But when he found out he lived in California, he made it clear that that did not make him happy.
Well, and that we'd been mowing it for 10
Yeah,
years.
and he told the attorney, he pointed his finger at his attorney, who was a nice guy, and said, this has got to stop. The city cannot be responsible to maintain somebody else's property. So and Travis, by the way, did a wonderful job arguing that, they first attacked us, the attorney did a little bit, on how he presented the statute, supposedly a wrong statute. And the judge said this too. He said, well, and then he argued that. And the judge said, well, at first I was a little bit worried about that, but now that I've heard the argument, that doesn't bother me at all. So, and then moved on. Yes, sir.
Y'all said bring it up to code that's not technically approved. We can't force him on the fire side to bring it up to code if it's abandoned.
Yeah. Well, I think,
I just want to make sure y'all didn't think.
No, it's not just,
System and all that.
yeah,
it's just municipal code in general, not just the fire code.
Nope.
Our ordinance, the planning codes, Hunter's given me for instance, all of the plumbing in there is destroyed. So there's sewer gas escaping into the air.
not a window left.
There's
One
no,
of the things is a big pump station out front.
Yeah, we haven't even addressed that yet. I haven't told you
The
that.
water department had to go
Yeah.
at their own expense and do some repairs on that a year or so ago. So that's one of the stipulations that we sent to Travis is that
That we
water
figured out.
I've got a very long list
Okay.
I'm working through. yeah.
One, they would prefer if they disconnected that completely from our system, because that's on our main line. And if anything ever goes wrong, we got to shut down McDonald's and everything else. So we would like for that just to be discontinued. Plan B was, if they don't want to do that, then they have to bring it up to spec, to our spec.
Yeah. It wasn't long ago, a couple of years ago or more, we were there because it froze.
Yeah.
There was water gushing out of that building.
Tim says to bring that up to our spec would be a real big expense, plus they're gonna have to put heat in there because the next time it freezes real hard, it's gonna do it again. So he says the best thing for the city and the best thing for them is just to disconnect it completely and count it. And so that was one of the things that we sent Travis. So it's not just the building department, we went to the other departments too and said, is there any issues? And Tim brought that up. So we included that into our want list, not a wish list, it's a want list.
We're farther with this building than
I think the judge realized.
we've ever been. Yeah. Travis got us there, so. And the planning guys. So we're making some headway. The judge was pretty disgusted when he heard everything, in my opinion. Any thoughts or questions on that?
Sounds good.
We're working on it. Travis, we're working on it.
Mhm.
Okay. I'm gonna try not to skip anything. Department reports, questions from council. You got fire, police, planning, HR here. Anything for these folks? I do have, or Tom rather has, a little short presentation since we're going to get out of here pretty early. I wanted to bring you up to date on the Senior Citizen Center for one, and then we've got some pictures also of the of the progress at the splash pad. I don't know which one you got first. Center? Okay, so Mike Cohey, name of the company escapes me, but Mike's a local contractor. He won that bid at $461,000 and some change. I will tell you, this is the progress that's already taken place. It's basically demolition. Some of those walls are new, but some of it's just where he's taking sheetrock off to get to the plumbing. That's a kitchen. That was an office. That's gonna be scaled back about half that size for another office, because the back half that you see is gonna be part of the kitchen. Next slide. Thank you. Was bathrooms. They will remain bathrooms, but they're taking them apart to make them all handicapped accessible as required. So that's just kind of that part. That's the kitchen. That's half of that room I just mentioned that we took in from the office to become part of the kitchen. The window to your left will be either the serving, I can't remember which. I think it's your tray return window, and I think that's where the dishwasher will be. Automatic dishwasher.
Might mention that he's using all local
Yeah,
people here, best going to come to the.
yeah,
plumbing.
but
He's got local electrician and plumbers.
yeah, everybody's local. I mean, he's got his own crew, but like,
They do the labor.
Yep. So that's looking in from the kitchen side. Next, please. That is in the dining room. He took off all that. So that was a sliding barn door going into the kitchen. So now there's a walk-through door, regular, and a window on each side, one to pick up tray, one to deliver your dirty tray back. So that'll all be covered except for the windows and the door, of course. But he had to expose more to see what he was doing. Next, please. Okay, I'm sorry. That's just a picture of the existing dining room, and those are doors that he is saving in case we need to use them somewhere else. So he's being real frugal with that stuff. And those tables and chairs are what we bought, that came along with the building that we bought. Next. I'm not sure what I'm looking at here. That's the kitchen on the other side. Okay, that's kitchen on the other side. Just looking, yeah, you're looking through a wall. Oh, okay, yeah. So that's the office, the smaller office looking through the wall to the kitchen. Yeah. Next. Before it had a wall. And same bathrooms, just reconfiguring plumbing and widening doors and things like that on the bathrooms. Next. Different angle, same thing, bathrooms. That's the front of the building there, the window to your left. Next. Looking down the hallway. Man, this is, thank you. Yeah, you're just looking down the hallway from the dining. Okay. Same, you just backed up about 20 feet. So that's looking from the dining down the hallway. Front of the building on the windows. That is the front of the building looking out the windows. Those two windows will be removed. There's a door to the right of that picture, right in there. And then right past that little stub wall on the other side, there's a door. So both of those doors will come out. Those two windows are removed, and there'll be one central door. That building has had two doors for some reason in the front. So we're redoing all that and putting one door approximately between those windows. Next. That's it. So that's underway. I believe today, I didn't get to go by there today. I was out of town, but I believe they were jackhammering concrete to start on the quote unquote, the hard part of getting the plumbing in the floor to redo everything. He has, I think the contract reads he has 160 days. Is that right, Sonny? To complete it. Mike assures us that unless there's some sort of weird, strange weather related where they cannot get there, he's going to be done long before that. I reached out to a couple of other folks in regard to doing maybe some in-kind things for us, like the landscaping out front. If anybody's got a scout project, looking to find a scout project, love to talk to you about that. Flagpoles, whatever it is. But it's well underway. So we're excited about it. Any questions?
Well, Mayor, yeah, it looks really good, the progress that they're making there
Mhm.
and everything. I still just have a difficult time, especially in light of the recent tragedy that we've had, to still put our senior citizens in a building that we don't have adequate fire protection to. And I think we as a city still should look at actively trying to find a, a suitable means of fire suppression for the building before we let the seniors in there.
Couldn't agree with you more as far as looking for it. I am in constant looking for it. I made a cold call to the Church of Christ that's next door to this building, who has a pond for that purpose for their building. I don't know if you remember, but that was required by the state fire marshal for that building because they added on twice of what they had. So they had to have fire suppression. They built a pond with the dry hookup pump to it. I called the pastor and I said, I'm this person. And he said, yes, sir. And so what can we do? And I said, I'm curious if you as a church would allow the city of Greenwood to use your pond in case we needed it as a backup, secondary, add to, whatever we needed to call it. And he said, sir, that's not a question that I can answer by myself, but he's very kind, very nice. And he called me back in about 20 minutes. And he said, absolutely. We are excited that somebody's going in that building. We're excited that it's going to be for what it is, the seniors, and we us for, and we'll help you with it. But you have total access. So we got that. I then Chief Brian called State Fire Marshal and told him our situation. And by the way, I'm going to stop for a second. I have been speaking to James Fork about a possibility of a fire hydrant on the west side of 4 lanes. James Fork is in discussion. We're in discussions with them. As you know, the fire hydrant's not that bad. If you just stick a fire hydrant over there, I suggested, this is way before I called the church. I said, Chief, talk to me about throwing hoses across the highway and fighting the fire. And he said, no, I don't know if RDOT will allow you to do that. So I called RDOT, big people, and they said, Mayor, if you have a fire, that's what you do. We're not going to stop you. That's not a highway deal. He said, you stop your traffic with your trucks, and we do that anyway. So that could be available, and I want it to be available if we don't go something further. We talked about a bore underneath 4 lanes of highway and a median. We got a kind of a ballpark figure. It's very, very expensive, but we got a really good deal when we bored across to soon to be Station 3 one day. We got a great deal because the guys were in town and they were going to do it. So I'm hoping to get a good deal like that one of these days. Same distance, basically, even though it's a little bit more in the right of way. We talked to James Fork. I didn't know this until we started making all these calls. James Fork has a 10-inch line on our side of the highway, further south up 71, about where that Meeker owns property there that I thought I was going to get to hunt on until I found out it was Meeker's, not this Meeker. So there's a high line there. There's a 10-inch line on that our side. So I'm looking into future running that line on down to us at the corner and providing a 10-inch line. Opinion, I'm all about this corner being an anchor for water to then come into Greenwood from there all the way in, because as you know, we're gonna turn that into a 5-lane highway, and in my opinion, we ought to be thinking hard and heavy about putting that infrastructure along that highway as we build that highway or widen that highway. RDOT agrees. He said, if they're gonna do it, you need to do it while we're doing it. So a lot of things out there to look at. I fully intend to provide all the fire protection, but once the fire marshal state said, you're not changing occupancy, you're not building outside, I will tell you, it was a little bit of a blessing. We got turned down, or we couldn't afford to build on the outside of this building. Remember the bids coming in at 1 million, 2 million, or 1.3, 800,000, 900,000. We had to scratch that. And so by not doing that, we're not changing the structure. We're just within it. So fire marshal gave the green light to this fire marshal and said, you're good to go. Interior, I'm leaning on chief to make it a safe. We're going to do the Ansel system, of course, in the kitchen. That's all brand new. And if we need a fire extinguisher like that every 10 feet, I'm all about it. Smoke alarms, whatever we need. So If fire marshal had said you shouldn't do this, I'd be plan B, C, 3, or whatever. I'd be looking and coming back to you to say, here's what it's going to cost. But we were, and I will tell you that the building they're in now has no sprinkler. I mean, they're worse off or as bad as they. I don't know. I'm not going to say that. It's not our building, but they don't have any more protection than what we're going to provide. And I'm all about getting the protection. I'm not going to let this go. I'm not going to be satisfied until we get an anchor out there of some water.
Well, they do, the present building does have more protection. I mean,
Not
we have
really.
hydrants by there.
The
and
hydrant is not legally close enough to that building.
The,
It does not meet code.
well, it's closer than any hydrant out there.
It is, but it
And
doesn't meet
the
code.
station is, just, a mile and a half away. So
We're
it is
not-
better
Well,
protection.
I'm not putting anybody in anything that's unsafe,
Okay.
per fire marshal.
You said there's a 10-inch line to Aaron's place?
Yes, sir. I don't know. I couldn't walk out there and show it to you, but we've investigated.
That's the line that, James Ford ran down to Hendricks Road where we connected.
It only goes to Hendricks Road?
Pardon me?
It only goes to Hendricks Road? Or does it go north of?
You know where Hendricks Road and Coker come together. There is a state, there's that area there, and that's where James Ford tied onto our system to allow us to take, James Ford water up to the plant. So that pipe runs all the way down that back side of all those properties on the south side of, 10, all the way down Hendricks Road up to, like I said, it eventually goes up to the plant.
Aaron probably
So not quite
would probably
there.
like to know that.
So if somebody
Yeah, it's
came
not
along-
quite too.
Not quite, but
Somebody came along on the south side of 10 right now, when put in a subdivision, they could tap that 10-inch line and bring it up to the subdivision right now.
and the cost of coming from that, where he described it, could be comparable to boring under 4 lanes of highway and a medium. I don't know. We've not gotten the exact numbers on it. And I will say this too, and I forgot to mention this. We talked about the pond at the Church of Christ, which you have full access to. We can build a pond on our property. I just as soon not have to, because we're not selling this property anytime soon. But if somebody came along and offered us $10 million for it because it's prime property and we could come into Greenwood and build a brand new building for 5, we'd probably sell it. And there's a pond that you have to deal with. So we had a couple of prices on ponds and it was unbelievable what it was. We have it engineered already. I went ahead and had it engineered through Brixie. So we know what that pond would look like. To be honest with you, I think it was overly engineered because the pond at the Church of Christ is about half the size of what was engineered for us. And our building is about a third the size of their church. So I think we got a little over the top on that engineering, but so I fully intend, and if we dig a pond and have to fill it up later for somebody else, or they have to fill it up, that's fine too, but that would give us one more. Here.
What was Brixie's proposal run?
Hunter's not here, $300,000, wasn't it? Yeah. Now and here's the deal, but the unknown of that is you can say you're going to dig a pond, and until you dig it, you don't know if it's going to hold water. So if it doesn't hold water, you got to put a very expensive liner in it. And of course, that was all the plumbing to go with it, as the Church of Christ has. And we were going to supply, and I don't know if the Church of Christ has this. I'm thinking they might not, but that's none of my business. We were going to have a supply line there, whether it's 3-inch or whatever it is, whatever we can have to fill that pond. Because if you have a fire, I'm not a firefighter, but if you have a fire and you drain that pond and you have a fire the next day, you got an empty pond. So something needs to fill it back up. So we were actually, that's in the plans too. And that's probably why it was $300,000 to cover our bases. I've said this to Chief. I know it's not my call. It's I mean, it's a little bit my call, but I always think the Greenwood should have some, and it meets with some controversy or some conversations. I think, forgive me because I'm not a fireman, but I think a tanker truck or 2 or whatever that meet compliance and are used for that, to me, that's something we ought to have. But that's just my 2 cents. Whether you're going down there and filling up out of the church's pond and bringing it back and then having another one. I don't know. There's a lot of options to cover that out there. But my ultimate goal, as I think everybody's is to get something very substantial out there on that corner, whether it's for this building or
Does it hold? What does it hold?
I have no clue. Even that up to guys that know what.
Something we drain in 5 minutes and
I
then
have
we
no clue.
totally out of water?
It was engineered for that church, so which is 3 times bigger, twice as big as we are. So all I know is it's something, which is something more than what the state fire marshal says we have to have. He didn't even know that. This is just,
The state fire marshal says what we have is
The building, since there's not being any, the remodel on the interior, you're not adding on to it, you're not changing occupancy. State code says it does not have to be brought up to today's code. So that was, no, everything out.
my concerns are you've got this 3 miles out of town and this.
no, it's not. It's a mile from the center here.
So you're
I live out
responding
there.
out of here,
A mile, 1 mile,
1 mile.
1 mile.
I would say if you
Gentlemen,
would love to have tankers, but if your tanker costs as much as 400 foot high, you better serve having a hydrant.
oh, absolutely. I'm
I
all
could-
about the hydrant. And I will come back to you, the council, and I'll come back to the Water Wastewater Commission, one way or the other, and say, 10 years down the road, next year, I don't know. I'll come back and say, it's better that we have a hydrant.
You know, all of our fear with a tanker is that's staffing that ties up staffing. We don't have staff. We don't have the adequate staff right now. You have a tanker, it sounds great, but you got to have somebody to drive it and do the tanker tendering and all that. And we're always struggling for people showing up.
I'm not going to be able to discuss what the workings of the fire department because I do not know other than what the chief and I talk about. And let me just, I have no plans and am not going to put somebody in a building that we don't have permission to be in. That's never been my goal. I know half of you literally were against this project to begin with. It's in full swing. I've been approved by the state fire marshal. We have a grant. We're not spending any money so far. I've spent engineering money. We bought the building with ARPA money, paid for it. And it's a great deal, it's a great deal because one day it's going to be worth twice that. We have a grant that is completely paying for the remodel and there's $39,000 left on the table from that grant. And I've already asked for that $39,000 to go back in the building of the things that we took out, those value engineering, whether it's water, pond, whatever it is. Hopefully we're going to get $30,000 to use. And Tracy McKenna from Wapidity assures me that's probably going to happen. So I don't know if I'm hearing that you're still against it and you're trying to stop it. If you are, I hate that for you. But
What was the cost to bore underneath the highway?
I think it was 3, 4. That is a Tim Posey number. That is not an official from anybody. I will say this, Hunter's not here. Hunter got with, who's the company that did that boring to the station 2? Whoever they were came back and said they would do it at a much reasonable price. I don't have a number, but they were not $300,000.
One of those things that we find that we can catch them when they got the equipment here and doing something else.
Yeah.
And they work this out.
And one more,
Bridge is also on board
thank
to
you.
work in whatever capacity they can to
Yep.
in kind or whatever, because they've got the property across the street.
Right.
They know that their property is gonna be more valuable if there's a fire hydrant sitting on the corner. And so they're willing to do whatever they can do with their equipment.
In kind. They want it on our side.
Who's that?
Roll Ridge owns, where they're blasting or have been
Oh, yeah.
blasting.
Mhm.
The word was they were going to build a convenience store there. Well, they're going to need water and sewer, right? And they're in the city limits already. They're not going to get sewer for a while, but that maybe soon, hopefully they do someday. But they're interested in the water. Now, we've heard since then that they've sold that property. I don't know that at all. I think I heard more that they sold their convenience stores. But they told Hunter, absolutely they would be interested in kind, because if we get it on our side, on our corner, it's going to be a whole lot cheaper to go under 10 before it's widened. All very key. Before it's widened to 5 lane, if we can get it, or they can get it, we could charge them, if you will, to get it under 10 over to them and then help pay for what we're doing. So that's all being conversed about. So this is not willy-nilly. This is not something that was decided overnight. We've been working on this a long time. We've had that property for 2 years. I feel like I've talked to just about everybody I can to find a way to provide fire suppression. And when the state fire marshal gave his blessing, I'm not stopping on any of those other options at all. But we're good to go.
And I know I think I'm pretty sure I asked last month, but when that does go to 5 lane, we're going to have to get water from there and come back towards town, right? Is that when that does go to 5 lane, that's where we're going to have to get water from in order to develop that.
Ralph, that's another one of those things, that is, James Fork Water
Right.
District.
Mm.
So we're gonna have to look at, do we wanna buy that from them again? That's one of the things I keep, when somebody says annexation, I say, be careful what you ask for, because if you annex that and then somebody builds there, are we willing to run that, buy it from, James Fork, run the pipe and do all of the infrastructure that's gonna be required? Or do we allow somebody to come in and say, I want to build there, and we can tell them, well, here's what it's gonna cost you to do that. So, we can either come from the SWEP code, that's about where our city limits is, out to 10, as we widen 10, or we can go from where we're talking about putting in the fire hydrant and let James Fork provide water, do that 10-inch line. Those are the things that we have to balance. There, like I said before, there's a 10-inch line that runs all the way up to Enrich Road, down the south end of those properties, that somebody can run pipe up to 10, or we can look at running down 10. That's a water wastewater decision there, but we've got to purchase that again from James Fork. And I had a big long conversation. I was at a AEDC meeting today and the economic development over in Alma, and that was one of the big discussions that we were having. Van Buren has the same issue with rural water surrounding them, and every time they want to expand, they've got to buy this from them at an inflated price. They're buying old pipe, old meters and things like that. And so they said, they've just kind of got us surrounded, and we don't know what to do about it. And we're trying to get legislation that takes forever.
You can look at this one of two ways. One, well, the fire suppression, the meter, the hydrant, whatever it is, above and beyond what we have now, which is nothing more than what the state fire marshal said we could do. And you have a pond that's up the road a little bit, however many 100 feet from our place. And you're a mile from here, maybe a little over, is a mile from my
Correct
house.
that, Mayor. It's 2.5 miles from here.
No, it isn't.
Yes, it
From
is.
here?
Yes.
Okay, well, I did it from my house.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay.
2.5 miles we have an excellent, I'm bragged on you guys. You're excellent. We have all the trucks and the means to fight fires. And we go way beyond 2.5 miles now.
Sure.
For a fact. I go with the chief sometimes. So if we're going to sit here and say, man, I don't know if we can get out there to fight the fire at the Senior Citizen Center, I think that's ridiculous. Let me say something. Let me clear the air on something else while we're here. It wasn't long ago, about a month and a half ago, there was a gentleman that went on Facebook, hey, Greenwood, what's happening? I usually don't pay any attention because it's the modern National Enquirer. But this guy was saying a lot of things about that project in particular, very specific. And every one of them, I called him. I don't do that. I've done that one time. I called this guy because I know him. I know of him. I said, sir, told him who I was. Hey, how you doing? We talked for a minute. And I said, would you mind coming to City Hall and sitting in my office and talking to me about your latest post on Facebook? Well, what about it? I said, everything that you have stated is false. I'm not calling you a liar, I guess, but maybe I am. You have stated a lot of things that is completely false about the project. Well, what do you mean? He stated that we have paid this was a couple of months ago. We've already paid the contractor. Contractor hadn't done anything. We've used taxpayers' money for all that. He had about 4 different things. And I said, please come to my office so we can talk. Oh, I don't want to do that. I said, well, can you at least tell me who gave you that information? And he says, yes, I can. A councilman. I said, can you tell me which one? And he goes, well, I can't do that. So I left it at that. I said, okay, well, let me tell you the truth. And I told him exactly how this process has gone for the last 2 years. I said, I've been in charge of this along with the planning and everybody else. And the council has been fully aware of every step we made, the bidding, the grants, all of it. And I need you to come and talk to me. And he wouldn't do it. He said, well, I'll make a call. And if I find out any different, I'll call you back. Well, it's been 2 months. And I don't expect him to call because people don't do that. I followed every rule, every guideline, didn't do anything. Now, some people say I got the cart before the horse. Before I got, we bought the building, we did this, we didn't have the approval. I couldn't really invest a lot of time or money on the water until I knew the grant we could get the grant. We got the grant. Got it by $39,000 finally. Went out 4 times, which everybody, Wapadetti, Travis Bartlett said, we don't usually do this more than twice. I said, I don't care. We're going to keep going until we get it. If we get a fancy paint job for $500,000 and we can get the people in it, that's what we're going to get. Well, we got more than a paint job. We got a full kitchen. We're going to put probably with that $39,000, we're going to put what we're going to build outside on the inside. We got everything else, handicap accessible, everything else. We lost the front, the drop off, the drive through, lost that. I've got people telling me that they'll come back and do something later, like the Church of Christ. This is a community. It's going to be a community effort to get these people in a building that is nice, new, and safe, and we'll make it safer as we go. And it's our building. It's our facility. And I don't know what else to say about it. I'm just about, it's moving forward. And unless somebody's got some legal way to stop me, we're going to get these people in this building soon.
That was my concerns, Mayor, was just that it be safe.
It is safe.
What you said is
The
safe.
fire marshal
And I
says
was
it's
just saying
safe.
is with our elderly people, would we required the church to have fire protection. Mercy Clinic bid out there.
Brand
They
new
started
building, brand new building. Yes,
and
sir.
they,
Yes, sir.
got fire
I'm with you,
protection and
AC.
stuff. And so that's all
Are
my
you-
concern is about the safety.
Do you think the fire chief,
Because that's what you were emphasizing.
does the
to
state
move from
fire
this-
marshal know
from
if it's
safety.
safe or not?
Well, there's
What is your
always
end game,
guidelines, yes,
Mr. Brown? Councilman Brown, what's your
to
end
be
game?
safe. That's what your end game was. That's why you wanted to move out there is for
It
safety
is safe.
reasons.
It is. Why do you keep bringing it up like it's not?
Because I'm just saying that, we would require that from anybody else. That
We
was
would
doing
require
something.
it from ourselves if it was a new building or we were adding on. I could not require that from anybody else in the city doing the same thing with the same building. That's against the law. You can roll your eyes all you want. It's against the law. What's your end game?
Just so
You voted no.
Just say
You
for the
voted
project
no.
to be safe.
It is safe for the last time. So says the state fire marshal and that fire chief who abides by the state fire marshal. That guy said to me, I'd rather have it a different way. And what did I say to you, chief? My goal is to make it better and to plant to get the water. I don't know if you didn't hear anything I said. You can keep reiterating that you're against it and you have, but it's going to happen.
Well, again, like you said, your timeline, because
What about my
This is-
timeline?
well, it's saying that the timeline was, we had this and it's been 2 years, like to your own admission, it's been 2 years.
That's right. It's
And
taken that
so-
long.
And so you're saying that you're going to try to make this safe and provide fire protection, water, water protection.
Yeah.
Well, again, what's your timeline
As
on
soon as
that?
you approve a $300,000 crossing under a boring, that's it. If you approve that boring and get a hydrant, we're done.
Oh, but that's going to involve city money because there's.
Yeah, absolutely.
you said
Because
it was
it's a
all
city,
done.
it's a city project and a city building, and it's the anchor of doing infrastructure. I don't know if you know it or not. We're growing. The F-35, the colonel was here yesterday to explain to us about F-35 and what it's going to, the $1 billion in our area. We're getting ready for it. This project is all about the senior citizen center, but it's about bringing that water this way or the other way, as Councilman Meeker said, to get 10 ready to develop safely. I don't know how many times I can say it. You made your point that you're against it. You voted no, and I know who pulls your strings, and I'll end it with that. Yes, sir.
Mr. Mayor, I was just going to say, I have no knowledge of fire department, fire knowledge, but I mean all of what they've done in the last few weeks. I think that not only that building out there, but if you'll think about the residents on Highway 10 to the north of Highway 10 deserves the same passion that you're demanding with that building. What makes that building more important than all the residences on Highway 10?
Thank you.
Argue for them residents and those people that are living there just as hard as you are for that building. I believe as a taxpayer, not as a police chief, as a taxpayer, that he just got a building for relatively inexpensive, well, to nothing to us. He got the land, he got the building through grants. Maybe through that money that Mr. Tom just showed us, that surplus of money that hasn't been used for the projects that was not done, maybe we should put the fire suppression in and run that water line under that highway and not argue about it and get it done for the people and them senior citizens. That's my 2 cents as a taxpayer. I'm appreciative for what all is going on in this city. Nothing has, in my time of being here, splash pads, highways, bypasses, roads, Mercy Center out at Walmart. There is so much stuff being built in Greenwood at this time that whether you want to admit it or not is under his watch, under y'all's watch, under y'all's made the decisions to build these projects. I'm appreciative that you're passionately speaking about this and that you're having some debate, but I think there's monies in there that you could do what you want to do and running that water line under the highway. That's my opinion.
Thanks, Chief. I totally agree. I have not asked for money because my goal was not to ask for money because I knew this met with resistance to begin with. I broke the tie to buy the building. We've not asked for any money, but if the council, better yet, the Water Wastewater Commission wants to spend some of their millions of dollars, and I'm not being sarcastic, they've got money to go in for infrastructure for this building that's ours and infrastructure for the future growth of Greenwood, I'll do it tomorrow. I'll sign a contract tomorrow.
As planning goes, though, developers build infrastructure. City is not.
You
supposed
do
to build
if you're not
infrastructure.
growing. You do if you're not a city
No,
willing.
developers will build infrastructure if you're growing. That's what, they come
AC,
here and
how many,
develop.
let me, can I talk? I'm gonna try to calm down. I'm now the vice president of the Arkansas Municipal League, and I'm not bragging. I'm just going to a lot of meetings. And every meeting Mr. Bell and I attend to, we talk about infrastructure and what the cities are putting in as incentives. And it's not Greenwood. Greenwood gives no incentives. We charge people to do things. We're the opposite. It's like we're trying to stymie growth. And I've got 2 years left in this one, and I'm going to run another one. If I may not win, but my goal is for us to be incentivizing everybody. We act like it's against the law to incentivize a developer. It's not. Read your laws and read what other communities are doing.
I spent the day with the Arkansas Economic Development at AIDC, and that was one of the things that they were talking about was with communities buying property and either selling or leasing that property out to bring people in. And one of the bring people in, and then you gain the results of it over a period of years. But what they're telling you is that communities in Arkansas are being in economic development. They're buying buildings, they're buying property, they're subleasing. Poto's been doing this for years. They buy property, they build a building, they will lease it to somebody with the option to purchase. That they purchase it and they start another project, and they do these one at a time. You go out by the college over there at Poto, you see all those buildings there, got kind of an industrial area, but that's done by the city. And they're basically telling you to think outside the box. When somebody says that developers bring in the infrastructure, well, in some cases they do, but in some cases the city needs to do that for industrial areas and things like that. We had an infrastructure out the industrial area. We have improved on it over the years and all that. But they're basically telling you, if you want your community to grow, think outside the box. And be creative.
Mayor, I hated to miss the meeting yesterday, but can you just give an update on what it was Colonel, right?
Yes, sir.
Can you just give an update on what he?
Yeah, I can't do it justice. The Colonel Idy is amazing. He talked for 45 minutes and never took a breath. And then he said to us, I know y'all are smarter than me. And we're all laughing because this guy has flown every jet that's been made. He described, and he has a presentation, and I think Danielle's going to send you the video. Does that have the demographics and all that stuff on it too?
It's everything that he showed.
Everything. So she'll
Where's
send.
he at? Where was he out of? Where's he stationed?
Well, he's out of Chaffee now,
Oh, okay.
but he's that guy that comes in for about 2 years, runs the show, gets it going. He also had a couple of gentlemen with him that are PR and they work with Greenwood, Arkansas, and Hackett and whoever else to say, here's what the people from Singapore are looking for to live in while they're here. And truly, he talked about the countries that are coming in will be here for 2 to 3 years. And then he talked about the countries that have signed up already for 10 years. Germany is one that's pending.
Said 2035.
Yeah, and it's stretched out to 2035.
Singapore will be here the longest.
Yeah, they're here the longest. And then some of them are hit and miss. And some of them, and because we all had a lot of great questions from the audience, we wanted to know how long are they bringing their families? What are they looking for? Well, some of them are and some of them aren't. Singaporeans, I think, are the ones that do. Germany does. Finland, maybe not so much. Switzerland. So
Poland will not, and that's who's coming first.
Poland's first.
And
and
the
he-
F-35s will be here next month.
Yeah. So, and it's
How
a,
long is people from Poland going to be here then?
who?
Poland. You said they're first.
I think they're 3 year.
I think it's
Two.
Two. So he did say this. He warned us. He said, do not expect 25 F-35s in the sky tomorrow. It'll be a very trickle. It'll gradual, and it'll get, this is what he did. He's a pilot. He went, it'll get up here and then it'll just take off.
Didn't he say 4 at a time?
4 jets. Yeah.
So there'll be 24 total.
Yeah.
There'll be 4 flying in the morning, 4 in the afternoon.
Yeah.
The others are going through the rotation of
Yeah.
maintenance while these others.
And then eventually that got to like 12 in the sky. 12. Yeah, so
Well, my thought is, I mean, if the people from Poland are not bringing their families, then the economic impact is probably not going to be as great early.
no,
Because people
it's
from
very,
Singapore.
You've got the support people to go.
Yeah.
You've got the maintenance people, you've got engineers and other people that support. It's not just the pilots. I mean, they come in as a group, and the group will be here total from now till, like I said, this runs out to 2035. The ground group will be here all this time. They're building 2 simulators out there. They're, all the buildings that, they've got some buildings out there now that are temporary, that will be replaced by, he said, as the government goes, $1 million building, will be a small house, but it'll be $1 million building. And, so that group, what were the 2 aeronautic, companies that are moving in?
well, you got
Dynamic.
Lockheed Martin, and we've already got people living in East Village from Lockheed Martin
And in the Oaks.
in the Oaks. So it's a trickle. It'll be very trickly. he used that term too. So I think that's good enough to say.
Oh, and mention
Any-
the rentals that we need.
So, yeah, so
And they're gonna have the
Just-
F-16s here.
just FYI, I don't, but we have made it clear to builders in this area, we are not interested in rentals very much. You know, and I'm not saying everybody here, but there have been times where this council has said, we don't want that because we know what that brings in. Well, these guys that are coming in first until these full families come in for 10 years, that's what they're looking for. Now, they're not going to stay forever, but they're looking for, in fact, he encouraged, he said, if there's a guy in the audience or a lady in the audience that can build you a gated community with one bill, in other words, they don't want to have to worry, they don't want to come in and have an electric bill and cable bill and all this. They want that because that's what they're used to. So that's what they're looking for early. I mean, I don't have $20 million to invest in that, but that's what he said. He said, if anybody's in the market planning on doing that, that would be a great idea. He just had so much information. It's hard for me. I mean, everybody took something out of it. We'll get you that. Everybody will get that email to you. Okay.
It's great, Ralph. You'll enjoy it.
Just came from the Charleston meeting
Mhm.
tonight. Disappointed we didn't have any Greenwood representation, but I want my councilman to ask 100 questions.
I don't mind anybody asking a question.
It becomes personal though when you attack a councilman for asking questions. And
First of all, Miss Kimberly, would you come to the mic? Miss Kimberly, would you come to the microphone? Thank you.
I totally agree with the police chief. Everybody needs to be as passionate about water suppression for the sides of the town that don't have it. But it seems like every council meeting becomes so personal and toxic. I think you would encourage your councilman to ask questions, 100 questions. And what I hear you say is when they ask questions, it means they're against whatever you want.
That's because they are.
I
He
don't
is.
think they are.
He is.
He's not.
You're telling, he voted against it.
Just because he votes against something doesn't mean he's not for it with all of the questions answered.
That doesn't make
I
any sense.
spent an hour in Charleston
We're not
and
talking
they
about
couldn't even tell the people in Charleston what level prison this was going to be. They hadn't decided yet.
I'm
So
not sure.
I get it.
I believe what you
If my mother was in a senior citizen building, I want to make sure that she can get out quickly.
She can.
And again, I'm not saying that she can. I'm just saying I want the questions asked.
How many times can you ask the same question?
I think until everybody has all the answers where they feel comfortable. It doesn't matter
How
who's
many,
asking.
what kind of answer do you need more than the state fire marshal says it's safe and you don't have to do anything?
Well, great, but then you also said we're not sure if a pond is going to help.
No,
or
no,
we're
no,
gonna borrow
no, no, no. I did not say
pond,
that.
or-
I did not say that. I said I'm going to add every implement I can as somebody wants.
I don't want to get in an argument with you. I'm just
Well, then
saying.
you're
I
not,
want
you're
my-
saying the same thing he did.
I just want my councilman to ask questions without it becoming personal.
It is personal because this is very personal to me. This project has been approved. We're not spending any sales tax money.
I don't want to get in an argument with you. I'm just saying it becomes toxic when you start pointing your finger.
I'm not pointing my finger at all. I'm addressing the issue, but thank you for that. And by the way, Charleston has nothing to do with this at all. And no one from here could go to Charleston because we're having a city council meeting. So
And I'm originally from there. And matter of fact, part of that land up in there, on the other side of it is where my ancestors was from. But I personally came here for the meeting here. So that's why I'm not down there.
but I figured it would be, yeah, but that's irrelevant to us.
I bet it was.
I'm sorry? Well, it absolutely will. Absolutely. But we have other issues here. This is city council and we're talking about this. And I'm very passionate, as you can tell. My problem is the same comment has been made and I've answered it as clearly and precise as I can. And it's brought up again as if it's not been answered. And I'm sure in the next publication, it will be that I didn't answer it, or it's wrong, or I cheated, or I gave money to a contractor that did not do any work. All false. It gets old after a while. And I'm just trying to do the right. These people that are going to enjoy this facility made it very clear that this is what they wanted. They packed the room. They were here when we voted. They wanted it. They still want it. I give them updates every month, and they're so excited, even though it's a mile and a half or two or whatever it is. They knew that going in. I took them out there when I first looked at the building. I said, I don't know if you're going to want this or not, because here it is. When can we get in? When can we get in? And I have received nothing but negativity from half of this council on this project. Every turn, every suggestion, every idea has been, well, I don't know if you're doing that right, or, something wrong with it. And so far, nothing's been spent from the city coffers other than engineering for a pond. I never said that the ponds are I'm looking for extra things to add to what we have. I don't have to do that. Church of Christ, I didn't have to ask Church of Christ. We don't even have to have access to Church of Christ, but we do. So that's plus what the fire marshal said. And I'm trying to say as calmly as I can, if this council, as calmly as I can, ma'am, without being cut back every single time, when this council or the Water Wastewater Commission says to me, here's this money, spend it for fire suppression, I'll be the first one to spend it. I don't see that happening anytime soon, but if it does, praise the Lord. I will go to, in fact, on behalf of you, Councilman Brown, I will go to the next Water Wastewater Commission. I want on the agenda.
Okay.
And I'm going to give them a couple of cost estimates. One's going to be boring under 4 lanes of highway and an easement, a medium. And the other one's going to be whatever else we know from the 10-inch line up the road. And I'm going to give them those costs and say, here's how to get full fire suppression at the center, which is not what this is all about. I want it there, but the bigger picture is that we get it there to bring it back into Greenwood for full water availability to Highway 10 as we widen that to 5 lanes for future development. Because without future development, there's no more city sales and use tax, and his reports will be the same. We've got to do something about more city sales tax, whether it's on 10, which I know not everybody's in favor for, but it's already approved. RDOT's going to do it. That's between them and property owners now. I'm out of it. Or getting rid of the Storecraft building, or getting somebody in the Storecraft building to provide some sales tax. My job is and has been for the last almost 12 years is to build city sales and use tax so we can have money to do the things that we want. A splash pad, maybe a pool. I don't know, anything that we want. But if we don't work at it, if we don't go toward that goal, we shrink. And if we're not open-minded enough to do what other cities are doing and have been doing, Poto, we're not going to die. Greenwood's not dying by any means, but we're not going to grow, and we're not going to be what I'd like for us to be. And I don't think I'm alone.
We had a similar opportunity as Poto. We just squandered it. We mismanaged it. Martin Young was the only one that did what he was supposed to do. Build his shop, and do it. We had an industrial park out there, and we turned it into a mini storage. We don't get any tax dollars off that.
We don't even know it anymore. We sold
I
it.
know we've squandered it. We had an opportunity the state give us, and we squandered it. But we mismanaged it and squandered it. But we had that opportunity. But that was us. But I share AC Brown's concerns on fire protection, and it is what it is at this point. And we do not tell a builder that we do not allow somebody to come in here and build something and say, well, when you get fire suppression to it, it'll be safer.
And that's not what we're telling ourselves.
Well, that's what I hear.
No, it is not.
Now we watched that thing burn
No, it
down
isn't.
once, and it hasn't changed. We had no water.
It was a log cabin for one thing,
Yeah,
so it's a
but
little bit of a
still a
kindling.
wooden structure.
I realize what it is.
That structure.
I knew this. I thought some pictures would help of
Yeah.
of doing things, but I knew it would turn to this. I'll say it again. Unless you can stop this illegally or legally, we're putting them in there, and we're going to do it. And I will go to commissions and ask for the big picture,
We can stop it legally.
do it.
This council
Do it.
is 100% in charge of the property.
Absolutely.
Both
You've
personal and real.
already approved the purchase of the building. You've already approved the grant to pay for the building
You're right.
and to remodel the building. At what basis would you stop this now, Mr. Powell?
I didn't say, you're just asking.
I know
and
you
said we
can. That's
can.
why I said it.
So
You like to use words. Oh my gosh.
you use a lot more words than I do.
Well, okay, that's fair enough.
I've kind of waited.
Are
so I-
you, what,
I've
are-
kinda
no,
waited
can
to
I
get
ask you a
my
question?
time. Sure.
Do you have a plan to stop this project?
No,
Then why are we talking about this?
because I think our frustrations are that
Lack
We-
of transparency.
lack of transparency.
What transparency are you talking about?
Well, if
Lack
you-
of, you said lack of.
So,
Talk to me about that.
so
I'm all ears.
AC asked at the last meeting or the meeting before.
Yes, sir. Plans?
For plans.
He was emailed plans immediately. And I also said to everybody here, the plans are here. No one comes here to look at anything. No one. They're here. They've been here for the whole time. I'm not going to bring it to your house. It's not happening.
We used to, from when I started, and it probably goes back to when Roger was on, when we opened all bids in public.
Yep, you did.
All capital improvement bids in public, and part of your term, we relaxed
Yep.
that because of trust.
Correct. Thank you. So
And
what are you distrusting me now because some project has gone south?
I wouldn't go that far. You're putting words in my mouth.
I'm asking a question.
I'm wanting to see transparency.
What do you want to
So-
see?
Well, what I'm going to do.
We can say transparency and that gets in the news. Ma'am, if you want to talk, you have to come to the microphone. I can interrupt anytime I want. Tell me your name and address.
Powell, 327 Dig Circle. I would like to hear the councilman talk
Okay, thank you.
without you interrupting.
Thank you. Appreciate it. You can be seated. Thank you. Mr. Powell?
I think transparency is a problem. And I think the lack of transparency is causing a lot of frustration.
Yes.
We used to open bids in public.
I'm getting amens.
We used to open bids in public. And then when the bid was opened, we awarded it to the apparent lowest bidder. And we asked the city attorney to review the documents.
We still do that.
And then we give approval to the mayor to sign a contract, to
Right.
sign that contract. And that is no longer happening,
Nope.
and it's
Time out.
not as transparent.
Well, I'll let you make your accusations, then I'll question them.
Okay.
Go ahead.
It's,
Ms.
it's
Powell.
just not as transparent, and that lack of transparency is causing a lot of frustration. And the council is 100% in charge of property.
I
Personally,
totally
here at
agree.
Real. The council is 100% in charge of the finances. And when Mr. Brown 2 months ago had said something about visiting Tom and said, "You got to come to me." No, he can go and ask any financial
said that?
questions that
Who
he
said what?
wants. And I can go
Wait,
ask.
wait, what? I said you have to come to me?
Yes.
No, I didn't.
You said that you made a comment about the fact that they.
I said I wanted to be in on the conversation.
That's what-
If a councilman goes to him, I would like to be in the conversation because I'm in this building and I'm the mayor. I didn't say you got to come to me. Took it out of context. That's not what I said. Go back to the minutes.
I'm going to go visit with the city. I'm going to go visit with the financial director during this budget session. If you want to sit on them, that's fine.
That's what I'm talking. That's what I'm saying. That's what I
That is
said.
fine, but I'm not going to come ask your permission to go.
Didn't
see
say
him.
that. That'll look good in the paper, but that's not what I said.
Okay,
That's not what I said.
but
Can you explain the transparency? What has not been transparent about this? Okay, so we didn't open.
I didn't really, I've heard whispers through a flooring company of who the contractor was.
Oh my gosh. I'm glad you brought that up.
I have no
You
idea.
know what?
You know,
don't-
we
you're
should
not-
have
you
known
don't-
that in public.
No, we shouldn't.
Yes, we should.
No, a subcontractor? No, sir.
Public is
I was the
transparency.
parks director when the Ed Wilkinson Community Pavilion was built. Michael Lejeune was in charge of it. I was the parks director. I went to every meeting that Michael had. Michael never brought to this council, we're moving the bathroom over here. We're changing the commode to stainless steel. That did not happen because it was a project approved by you to get it done with the funds that were available. This is no different.
Let me
I'm
tell
not
you-
hiding. If you want to, the building's open. You can go out there tomorrow and look at it if you want to. And nobody comes to City Hall. I made that very clear a while ago, unless they come to see Tom. Nobody comes. You know how many times you've been in my office since I've been mayor? You got your hand up. Is that a question? Or how many times have you been in my office?
To your office, I don't know.
12 years, none.
Okay.
The only time anybody came to my office was to make sure that he got a raise.
You're telling me
It was firemen.
what happened on the Ed Wilkerson Pavilion? Let me tell you what did happen.
I was there. I know what happened.
The bids were presented in public.
That's right.
They were presented to the council. Everybody here it was done in the light of day. And then we awarded the bid. We authorized the mayor to sign into that contract.
Mhm.
And then the mayor signed into the contract and it started. And that was very transparent. And
Mr.
we've got to
Plummer?
get back to that.
In your opinion, you don't answer the way I want you to. Was I authorized to enter into a contract with everything that we did with this building? In your opinion? You can say no, that's fine.
I would like the chance to review the minutes of, I think that if that decision was made, it was before I was sitting up here.
So
Also, the ordinance
the-
that we have permits the mayor to be the agent when bids are opened. It doesn't say that. it
I
has to be
think
done
the
before
crawl-
council.
I think the burr under everybody's saddle, or some of your saddles, is that we changed the process of not opening bids in public a few years ago. And if you remember, there was a lot of, I didn't just do that at night, like you said, not in the light of day. I didn't meet down here at night with my vampires and say, we're doing this from now on. We made you aware of it. You didn't like it, but we made you aware of it. And the reason for, there's not very many department heads here, but the reason for is that we were losing time and money, taxpayers' money,
To wait on the
because it was
council.
taking 60 and 90 days to get you guys to approve something that could have been approved. Not at night, not after hours. Nothing has, every time we've opened bids, Councilman, has been in the day, in a public meeting, in this room,
And recorded.
and recorded.
Only one did I
I would
miss.
agree
or-
partly with that, why we did it, because some of it was so small. But
That wasn't a stipulation of how big it is. It was just, this is what we're going to do because we are losing money.
I'm going to bring a resolution to the council in December.
Okay.
I'm gonna ask Mr. Travis to review it when I do it. And that resolution is gonna put us back to the way we did. We opened bids in public in a council meeting, in a
So,
regularly scheduled council meeting that are for capital improvements
so it
projects
can't,
that are in the budget.
so you don't care about that we
And-
lose money? Taxpayer money. It's irrelevant to you?
That's not part of it. What
It is part of it.
you know, sometimes a little bit of frustration on the administration's part is worth being transparent to these people right here.
I don't think these people, I would say half of these people that know me and work with me every day think I'm a transparent. The other half that are siblings and not, and friends of council, think the other way.
We'll just see if we'll see if the council entertains this resolution to bring bids back in for capital improvement projects in public.
That's
And it'd
fine.
be awarded the way we've done it for the last, man, I've been on close to 20 years.
Been here a long
last
time
20
myself.
years.
I'm aware. I was parks director for 10 and
And
now
it worked and there wasn't as much frustration, but right now I see a lot of frustration.
there's frustration because this project keeps getting fought at every turn and it's already approved. And I know where the hub of it is, and then it extends into this council. That's the frustration, Mr. Powell. And if you had something that you had gotten approved and used no city sales tax money to do it with, worked your butt off to get grants on both sides, not the ARPA, that wasn't me, but you agreed to spend the ARPA money for this building. You voted to do that. We bought it, and then you voted no to remodel it. But yet you voted no to buy it. I'm sorry, that's right. You voted no.
I did
You
vote no
and
to
these
buy
two, the three of you voted no.
That's exactly
And
right.
I broke the tie. And that has been
That's
that
the
burr under
democratic
your
process.
saddle ever since.
Well, it's the democratic process. And
But you've not been fighting it every step.
what have I done?
What you're doing right now.
I'm really talking about everything that's going to happen next year.
But it relates to this.
It does relate to that. And it goes back to that lack of transparency and the lack of trust.
I'm offended that you consider I have lack of transparency because I pride myself.
Nobody says, I don't know what's going on. You know,
That's because you don't come down here and you don't ask. We see you guys once a month.
Well, Mayor, until you showed those pictures, none of us knew exactly what the plans are. And
The plans have been there. I've told you we have the plans. You asked for them last month. I said, here they are. coming to look at them. I'm not going to hand deliver them to you, Mr. Meeker.
There's another.
Why is that not transparent? Why is that the opposite of transparency?
Well, there was some concern and confusion that there were 4 different bids that started out at 1.6
That's right.
million
And
dollars.
we deducted. I did my job to get rid of things so we could get it to the bid process.
And so when it finally landed on a bid,
Right.
and there was not what we felt at the time adequate fire suppression, then that's a cause of
We
concern.
hadn't discussed fire suppression at that time. I was not going to discuss it until I got the bid under the $500,000. There was no need to. What would you guys be doing to me if I went out and spent a lot of money on fire suppression and then we never got the bid under $500,000 to remodel the building?
You don't have the budgetary authority
For what?
to go do what you just said.
I didn't.
I know.
I said, what would you be doing if I did?
We would turn you over to prosecution.
Well, let me ask you this: if you got,
Are you getting all this, Mr. Monaco?
If you got under $500,000, and then the fire marshal said you have to have fire suppression, you can't pump it out of the pond. You have to have.
I
fire
would come to
suppression.
you with, what do I do? But I didn't have to. Is that being sneaky and not in the daylight, as Mr. Powell has referred to?
I wouldn't call it sneaky, but
What would you call it?
putting your cart before the horse.
If I'd have done that, I'd have done fire suppression first and not had the money to do the building. I don't know how many. Tom, you want to chime in? I don't, no? Okay.
Well,
There's really
you just
nothing
said,
to
you,
defend
Mayor,
on.
you yourself said you went through this, you didn't go about this willy-nilly. If you didn't go about this willy-nilly, it wouldn't have taken 4 bids to get to where we are.
No, he
I
was
didn't
just
do the
trying.
bids. Willy-nilly means, here's what happens, Mr. Brown, in case you don't know, which I know you do. We tell the MAHG what we want, what we would love to have. It's a Christmas list. MAHG takes liberty with that. By the way, MAHG has been amazing. They've not charged, and by the way, another thing stated that we paid the MAHG a lot of money. Wrong. They have not charged us anything for the last 3 bids. I expect to get a bill on this one because I used him 4 times. 3 bids, no charge. Correct? Tom?
Is that
Did
correct?
you get a
Tom?
bill? Did you get a bill? Thank you. So here's the way that bid process works, Mr. Brown. We do a Christmas list, what we want. Everything that we could possibly think we want. It goes out for bid, comes back about 1.2, 1.3, $1.4 million. Thank you, Mike, or thank you, Travis. We appreciate that. We got to get realistic. We have a $500,000 grant. That man was in the room every time I said it. We have a $500,000 grant. I need it to be $500,000 or less. What do we need to value engineer? We take out this, we take out that, we take out fancy flooring, we take out ceramic tile. It goes out for the second time, $800,000, $900,000. Once again, Travis, thank you for your work. Let's get real. I have a $500,000. Okay. Goes out the third time, $700,000, $800,000. 4th time's a charm. We're doing it again until we get it underneath, or I got to give up at some point. Nothing illegal. You can go out of bid as many times as you want. We put it out for bid. We took out the outside construction. We took out the thing in the front. We took out the walk-in cooler and freezer. We did a whole lot of stuff and got it down to a functioning building with the amenities that they need to function. Put it back out. 3 bids. 1 was $461,000. You had the bid. Don't act like you didn't see the bids, because you did. $461,000. I can't recall the other ones, but they were both over the $500,000. Bingo. We got it. We might have $39,000 to use if the grant allows. So that's not willy-nilly. That's doing a lot of work to get it under the price of the grant. That was hard work. That was countless meetings with Travis Bartlett and Hunter and Sonny and Les saying, come on, let's get realistic. We have a $500,000 grant. So figure out how to make that work and have a building that's safe and usable. That's not willy-nilly. Is that what you're calling willy-nilly?
Well, I guess one thing I need some clarification here, Tom. I thought that there were, I was told that there were like $48,000 that had been spent on, getting us to where we are right now.
We've spent some money. Absolutely. And you've known this.
No, I don't.
Yes.
What was that money spent on then? If it wasn't spent on engineering?
It was on engineering up front. And
I
some
thought
of
you
that
said
comes from
I
the,
thought you said we hadn't been charged for engineering.
no, I did not. I did not say that.
Okay.
He said they didn't bill for 2 of the 3 bids. And he's expecting a bill on this last one. So each bid process, he didn't bill us for. I gave you the list of, you asked for the dollar amount that we spent on engineering, and I told you exactly what we spent there. That's it. I'm gonna pull it up, put it up on the screen.
So it's almost like, Mr. Brown, correct me if I'm wrong. It's almost like you're looking for anything that I've spent money on toward this project that you may claim that you're not aware of to shine this horrible light or in the dark that I've done all these things in it. And this is the feeling. This is my frustration because it's the same thing every month for the last 2 years. That's my frustration.
It's my frustration too, to say that
What's your first?
I want to know what expenses are being spent on it.
You want to know, now you're complaining that you didn't know what we took out. Why is that?
Yes.
Why is that important? If we're utilizing the grant, why is that important? Only to say, whoa, something's wrong here.
Because
Still
I want to
right.
make sure that
What?
at that time,
It's still a right for councilman, if it's property and finances, it's a right.
I don't-
Whether it was tied to a grant
I'm
or not.
asking, why is it important that we spent less money than what the grant is? Why is that? Why do you have to make that an
Property.
issue?
It's property.
Rod, you and I have known each other a long time, and
We have.
you guys, you voted no. I understand. You didn't want it. The guy that leads you didn't want it. You voted no. I voted yes to get it done, and we're there.
but up
We're
until
there.
the 4th revision,
We're there.
the first 3 designs did require water suppression.
No, it did not.
Yes, they did.
Well,
Because there was a,
it didn't require it. He may have had it in there. That doesn't mean it required it.
no, because
If the
you're
design
adding on to the
required it, it
building.
would still require it.
No, because y'all said y'all shrunk the building, so it would
No,
not
we
be
didn't
need to it.
Why are we arguing about this?
Because I'm saying the first 3 designs.
No,
I
my
said
question is, why are we
individually.
arguing about this?
Because because the city shouldn't do anything that we didn't expect any other builder.
We're not.
to do.
We're not. If somebody in Greenwood, Arkansas, other than us, owned that building and wanted to do what we're doing with it, an event center or something, and the fire marshal said, doesn't have to be changed because doesn't have to be added because it's not changing, we can't make them do that.
Because they didn't change the structure of the
We're not
original
changing, and
building.
we're not.
The first 3, you were.
Those are gone. They cost too much money.
But I was asking about fire suppression regarding those first 3.
Why? Why?
Because it required fire suppression.
Why are you asking now?
I asked every time I asked about that.
Point is this, I know y'all can keep it going.
We don't need to.
No,
I
we're
wanted
done.
Tom to show where the
I'm done.
I
48,000
think we need to
came from.
adjourn.
Sir?
I was wanting Tom to show where the 48,000 came from.
Okay. So that'll be, maybe somebody on Facebook will post this.
These are the project costs right now. These are the reimbursements from the grant.
I'm passionate and I will not apologize for it to anybody in the audience,
The-
ever.
The MAHDs are 8, that's all of these right here. 23, those are 23 costs, nothing in 24. That's an MAHD other than this one right here for $832.
And by the way, you've all seen this before.
So we've spent $49,000 on the planning.
There's some cost in here like brick seed for the
Han.
Engineering.
engineering for the pond.
And the engineering,
We already told you that.
I have line item for engineering, so I don't know if you've got that broken out like that, but I can spend money on engineering up to a point.
Fees
Well, this is a
professional.
project.
Fees professional.
This is not just engineering. I could go and detail it down to engineering and then say MAHG Senior Center. But this is the project. Whenever we pay a bill to the senior center, we capture it as a the day they started, all this work on it was 23. This is the total amount that we spent and we're reimbursed so far from.
Oh, wow, that's kind of important. Say that again, if you would. Reimbursed.
This has been, there's 16,217. That 10,750 and 54,6750 have been reimbursed from the total of the 49,000, which brings you down to $33,000 for the project so far.
Everybody's seen this before. That's not done at night after hours.
What we say about this, we have to approve it.
So when I go to report to the seniors at the center tomorrow or next week, what should I tell those folks? That council is still fighting this project?
You can tell them that Rod Powell hopes they enjoy it and wants them to be safe.
Okay.
Rod Powell's seen too many burn up bodies.
And we started this conversation with that. And I made, shaking your head, doesn't matter. I made it very clear that I am all about safety. I support the fire department to the bitter end. I mean, my gosh, you guys are amazing. My goal in life is not to put old people in a building that I don't feel like is safe. And if the fire marshal of the state of Arkansas had not told me you're good to go, we wouldn't be pursuing it. And I've said this again, one more, and I'll say it one more time. If this council or the Park Water Wastewater Commission will allow me to spend funds that I didn't plan on for this building and future of Greenwood heading that way, I'm all in. Please do that. I mean, if you're passionate about safety, I hope you come back with a passionate vote or acknowledgement to say, let's spend the money and do it, like the chief said. That's passion. If you're worried and passionate about the safety of these guys, help me make it safe. Because I don't have that power, as you very well have pointed out. Are you willing to do that?
Well, and treat you like a contractor. It is not up to us to go in there and provide what you need to make your building safe.
It's not my building, it's the city's building. And it's not about the building, I'll say it one more time. It's about the building and the future development of that area.
If you're asking me, I prefer to have fire protection.
Then help me pay for it.
That
You don't want to spend city money to provide fire prevention for a city-owned building?
See, that's where you said that you.
No, I want to
I
ask him a question. I was loud as I need to. As loud as I need to. It's okay.
It makes me
And if you need to talk, come to the microphone.
I didn't think it was a good idea to put the building there.
I know we didn't put the building there.
I
but
didn't
we
think
bought-
it was a good
I know
idea
you
to
voted no. It's
purchase
very
the
clear.
building.
It's very clear. My question
So
now is
I don't think it makes
You're not
financial sense
you're not
that the
answering my-
building be there in the first
financial
place.
sense?
Yes,
Why?
because I think we had a great deal at $1 for 50 years.
I'm not rehashing that.
That's fine.
I am not rehashing that.
We had a great deal. over
I'm
at
not
Farmers Bank.
rehashing that. You didn't answer my question, sir. You're not willing to spend city funds to provide fire prevention for a city-owned facility.
I am willing to spend city funds and build a building. or
We don't have
remodel a
$10 million.
building.
We can't build a building. That's why we did this.
Then we shouldn't have started it. If
Shouldn't
we
have started
didn't-
what?
If we didn't have enough money to complete it and do it right, we should never.
We
start.
are going to do it right.
It is not right.
You guys are so
I don't believe
throwing
it's safe.
everything out there to make it sound horrible. Answer my question. Are you willing to spend city money on a city facility to make it safer?
One that I approve of, yes.
So the answer is no. What do you have, Mr. Brown?
It said a proper plan would have accounted for
The
everything.
proper plan.
Yes, sir.
I think we had a plan or we wouldn't be where we are.
No, a proper plan would have
concept, we
included
didn't
all
have
the
a plan.
infrastructure.
I'm going to dismiss. Anybody got anything else?
Yes, I do have another
Yes,
thing.
sir. Mr. Plummer, Mr.
Yeah,
Maker.
so the Plummer Law Firm in here, I can't remember, Charlotte, do we?
No.
We don't need to.
It's just-
No,
Okay.
that's for your information.
We haven't got the citizens forum yet. I mean, councilman forum.
All right. Mr. Plummer has something.
Before we move on, do you want me to provide an opinion on the question you had and what exactly is it?
If I had the right to enter into a contract per the votes that had taken place in the discussions that we had taken place regarding a grant, and all of that. And believe me, if I didn't have the right to enter into a contract, but by the way, you mentioned the
Contract for,
to start the construction on the pavilion or the building. I want to go back to what you said, Mr. Powell, a minute on the, you heard it from a contractor, a subcontractor. The contractor that got the bid indeed went to Best Floors and said, hey, I'm going to use you as the floor guy. That's awesome. That should be great news. And you took that news as, I didn't know anything about it.
Well, I took that news, as I should hear that in a public forum. We ought to know in a public.
It's Daniel
forum.
McDaniel. You guys talk.
Sure is Daniel.
You think I'm going to be able to control what Daniel says to you?
I wish you could.
Well, that ain't happening.
Are we at council?
No, he's got something else.
does any of the council have anything they'd like me to look at on this?
I would like you to look at from the beginning to the end, the process of authority to get to the point where we are at. Again, the transparency of the council being aware of what was going on.
I know
Man, that's going to be the headlines, transparency.
I know we applied for the grant, but when the grant was awarded, did we ever accept the grant? We know that that grant was specific.
You don't get the grant until you get something that you can spend the money for the grant on.
So
By approving, maybe I got ahead of myself, and I'll be, oh my gosh, if I'm applying for a $500,000 grant and we get the bids to go with that, I guess I'm stupid and a little slow to think that we would go ahead and do that.
Well, I just,
I mean,
Normally, in order to get any grant, we have to get an authorization via a resolution first,
Yeah.
usually.
I didn't do that at night. Tracy McKenna was here at night about 5 times. And by the way, she hates coming here because of this. She almost won't come here. She's the
kids won't come back.
She's the grant lady. No. And she's like, oh my gosh. So when she's standing here offering us a $500,000 grant and we're bickering over it, it's weird.
Travis, so I guess my question would be, the last thing I remember doing is we approved to go after the grant, to go seek the grant. That alone, was that enough to give the mayor authority to sign into the contract to get this thing going? Because that was the last thing I remember.
Say that again. What you remember? The last thing is you say it again.
We took a vote to apply for the grant. And I don't know if that alone was the authority to enter into a contract, but that may be the way you see it. But that was the last thing.
Can I ask a question on that?
Sure.
If you're giving me permission to apply for a grant, is your intentions to come to me afterwards and say, I don't want you to use it?
Well, we apply for.
No. That's just a simple question.
Well, the answer is
Simple.
we apply for a lot of grants, and if you put them all up and we got them all at the same time, we need to be able to turn some of them down because we can't afford all of them.
This is not a matching grant. You can't afford you can't afford a free $500,000 grant. I know the grant system, Rod. I was parks director for 10 years. 80-20, 60-40. You're right. Blank check when you
Well, I
approve
guess-
it. This one was free money.
Okay, that may
Council
very well be
voted
the
to-
case.
Would you?
We're just asking Travis to give his
I
opinion.
know.
a
I'm
legal
asking you a
opinion.
question. Would you come to me after getting that approved? No, I don't want you to use it. Thanks for getting it, but no, I don't want you to use it.
Well, yeah, sometimes we can't afford it, even when we
The
receive the
council
grant.
authorized
What's
in
to
the middle of
afford?
an application.
The
for the
$48,000 is all we spent.
grant fund.
That we can't afford $48,000. If I was back at square one trying to build a new building, I asked for a new building. We had an engineer look at it, architect, and it was $5 million 5 years ago. You know what it is today?
It's probably 10.
8 or 10.
Yeah,
So that we couldn't afford.
right.
I went after what we could because it didn't
Well,
cost us
it
anything.
doesn't apparently, to me, feel like we could afford to do what we need to do with fire protection, adequate fire protection to protect the occupants.
You don't
that are in
think
there.
the Wastewater Commission, how much money they got? How much? Sorry?
6.5.
You don't think they can spend $300,000 for fire protection?
I don't think it's up to me to determine what they spend their money
I'm
on.
asking you.
I
You
don't
said
think
we
it's
don't
up
have,
to
you
you
said,
for them to determine what they spend
I'm
their
going to
money
ask
on.
them. I'm going to ask them.
So you're
But they're going to have to, it's going to have to come back to you to be approved.
So you're planning it after the fact.
No, I'm not. We don't need it. We don't have to have it. We've been approved by the state fire marshal. I want to add it for later.
Can we go on to Councilman Forum?
This is the most ridiculous period.
We can just end this conversation though.
I know we can, but it's
Doesn't-
hard because they're going to walk out of here and that's paper's going to read this way. So whatever. I
A
don't care.
lot's been said though
I don't
already.
care.
Enough has been said.
Well,
I'm
so
just-
council forum, this is their meeting. I can't stop a council
Actually, I'd like
meeting.
to back up
I know.
for transparency's sake. Could we see that splash pad that you're fixing to show and tell us where we're at on that?
Well, I can't tell you where you're at. I can show you pictures.
Okay.
Anyway.
Yeah, thanks.
Mhm.
Well, I hope this one doesn't go like the last picture. Sir?
Do you mind if I go with you to the water wastewater, explain why it would be
Absolutely.
preferred
Absolutely.
for us to have something that's not required?
Absolutely. I mean, I don't mind at all. Yeah, for sure. All the help I can get.
Okay, this is what was published. I just want you to see where they are.
Concrete has been poured since then.
Well, it's actually several.
Oh, you have some? Okay.
Yeah, this
Sorry.
is how they started.
Okay. Sorry.
They've laid all the, that outlines for if you'll notice, the plumbing is also down. And they started putting in the concrete. You'll see back here in the background, that is the bathrooms and the water lines and sewer lines. I think we're in the process of being brought up to there. There's the leveling out and the smoothing of the actual base of the splash pad. Yeah, it goes all the way back to.
It's kind of kidney shaped, sort of.
And then there's the entrance to one side is the male and one side is the female bathrooms. And then a back for the recycling pumps for putting the water back through. I'm not the expert on this. I just know what Casey had told me these were. And the pump out in the back, that's the where all the recycled water and tanks are going to be. That's going to work back to this. So it is a recycling unit.
Is that the big tank on the left for the where the water's recycled, where it's drawn
Back here.
from?
I
Yeah.
wouldn't know how they got that set up. I just know that it's going to house that pump station right there.
So the water's recycled, but how much do you lose to evaporation?
I would not, I do not.
Okay.
I can tell you
Okay.
what I'm paying for it.
That's a septic
but
tank, right?
I can't.
Huh?
Septic tank.
Septic tank. Yeah. Yeah. At what point does it become a septic tank and not really a freshwater recirculatory system?
Oh, no, this is filtered.
Okay.
This is chemicals.
Yeah, what was it?
A good
The
filter.
tank is
I'm
underground.
just gonna go for water. Yeah, I think the tank can be submerged underground. I don't think that's I could be wrong, and it's definitely filtered.
In the time frame.
They're looking at, it won't be done this year. Obviously, the road is a huge issue. They're looking at first quarter of next year. for this to be finished. It will be operational according to the cars and the commission's report. It will be operational by the opening of 2025 Memorial Day.
And the general contractor is Crawford.
That's if you get the road.
And I know the electrical sub is local. It's all phase, isn't it?
How did you find that out?
I got a big all phase sign out there.
But you weren't notified by
And I,
Casey or the contractor?
and I
But yet,
kind of,
best
see, I
forwards.
miss that. I miss opening it up. We know who all the subcontractors are. We know who's local, who's not, and I miss that. I like to know if Duke Manufacturing was doing all the metal on it. I like to know if All Phase is doing the electric, all local ties. I like to know that.
Which is
And-
what I informed you tonight of ours, or the senior center. But
You didn't inform me who the electric plumber, you just said.
Sonny said they're local. I can give you names if you want names.
Well, the names come when you open the bids in
they
public in
don't.
the light of day.
No, they
Yes,
don't.
do.
Not on the bids. They do
Yes,
not.
do.
No, we do not. That's not part of the bid.
We have a pre-construction meeting, and that's when we know who the contractors are and the subcontractors. And those are an open meeting, just like when we open up the bids, it's an open meeting. And you guys are welcome to come there and senior citizen, we had a construction meeting out there. Fire chief was there.
Which I believe-
Department head.
Which I believe Daniel sent emails out to everybody. Is that right?
Bid openings?
No, the
Oh.
pre-construction meeting. Did you guys get that email?
For the,
I'm sure we
Pre-construction
did.
meeting?
Mhm.
You did?
More flight.
Nobody came. That's why you don't know.
We don't know.
And it was daylight. It was daylight.
Yeah, we don't know because it wasn't opened in a public forum.
It was open in a public forum.
Well,
It
it's
absolutely
a
was open.
public council meeting. and
That's
that-
because we changed that a few years ago.
I know, and I'm,
Change it
I'm
again.
glad
That's
to
fine, but,
change it back.
you can't.
I, I think there's too much frustration.
Yeah, you think?
I do think.
Think it was changed. I think it was always that
You're
way.
frustrated and the council's frustrated and this will solve it because nobody was
That's not- no,
frustrated.
That
at
won't solve it. The
Yeah.
frustration that I have is because it's been met with negativity from day one. Day one.
We moved to council forum.
You're in it as far as I'm concerned.
Were you through, Tom? Were you?
Yeah, this is
All right, thank you for that presentation. On council forum, I just want to make y'all take a deep breath. Because this is a different subject. Well, I'm going to bring a resolution to open things back in a public forum. I want to see that again.
It'll be an ordinance. It won't be a resolution because it affects an ordinance and we have to have an ordinance to repeal and replace that ordinance. Because it's in that ordinance, sorry.
Can you send me a copy of that ordinance?
Oh, yeah.
Send me a copy of that ordinance and I'm going to get with Travis.
Okay.
And I'll bring that maybe in the December meeting. It may be January. So, and if it's an ordinance, we'll spend 3 months. I don't like to do stuff fast. I don't like emergency clauses. I want everybody to be aware and everybody to be able to chime in. Again, it ties into transparency when you're not sneaking something through,
Yeah.
So I don't like it. I start to sound like Daniel, and then he votes for an emergency clause. But the other things are related to fire, and I'm glad to hear you supporting fire. I'm going to
It's
bring.
not new.
You're correct.
It's not new.
Yeah, you're correct. I think all of our limitations on supporting fire have always been revenue driven. We just don't have the revenue to do probably what we should. And we need to realize, I think we all realize that, but we are also growing and we're not looking for that one event that really throws us into somewhere we don't want to be. So, fortunately, the last two that we were on that could have been, well, one of them was bad and the one that could have been bad, we were pretty quick. We were on top of things. We had a really good stop over on Grand Maple.
yeah, up there.
Grand Maple, that was a really good stop. We were very quick because that was exactly the same thing that would have happened up here. It was in the attic. So it got me to start thinking, I knew the owner. I called him a slumlord to his face. So I knew him pretty well. When I went back, I said, "Look, James, you slumlord." I said, "Show me the smoke detectors in here because nothing was going off." And he said, "I promise you, I put smoke detectors in here. I promise you." And I said, "Well, let's go look at them." Well, you go over there and one of them's pulled off the wall. One of them's had the battery thing's down. It's pulled out, disconnected. And we go back to the bedroom and it was just totally ripped off the wall. And James said, "I promise you they were brand new before I rented this deal." And I said, "I believe you, James." And you could tell they were newer smoke detectors. And he said, they pull them out. And I said, "Well, this is another situation where people would have died if it wouldn't have been early in the morning. If it had been late at night, it had just been all over and people would have died." And I said, "James, you're not going to be happy with me, but I'm fixed to put an ordinance in where we require commercial tamper-proof in all these in long-term rental and one in the attic. And they're all tied together where these people that are maybe smoking cigarettes or other things in their bedroom. And this is what the slumlord told me happens is they get in there and they kind of smoke it up, sends all the alarms off through the house. So they go in there and start pulling them out and they're done. And then we're over here later on, maybe dealing with things you shouldn't be dealing with. And that shouldn't happen. And when you get a lot of rental property, you either need to spend a whole lot of money on super really good fire departments, or you need to do what I'm going to ask y'all to consider doing in an ordinance. So I'm going to write an ordinance that requires commercial smoke and fire detectors to be in long-term rental and short-term rental. And we'll take our time and we'll hear the complaints, but I'll try to bring it in June. And I'm going to get with the fire chief. The fire chief's actually looking at some of them. You still looking at that?
You mean January or June?
June, I'm sorry. I mean,
June?
January.
Okay. I was like, well, you're gonna give plenty of time to study
January.
on that.
No, not plenty. Hopefully it'll pass in March, and from that point on, the long-term and short-term rental, and short-term rental would be VRBOs, that type of deal.
Yeah.
That may also, if we required it, it would tie it to their privilege license, and maybe we would actually know how many VRBOs are actually out there functioning as VRBOs. Because I've been in these VRBOs that are actually in an attic in a garage with no egress. Those things need to be looked at. We don't need people coming into our town and then dying in a fire. So that might help with that. It might help with A&P knowing who's actually out there with the lodging tax. Then the other one is a little bit more controversial. Me and Stuart have been talking about it for 2 years. We go to the fire association. You're not cringing, are you? Okay. So we've talked about, Rogers passed an ordinance, and it's a very small, simple ordinance. Anything over a triplex requires, multifamily requires sprinklers. It has to be sprinkled. Duplex, I'm sorry. And me and Stuart have kind of popped it around. He's like, man, I don't feel like taking all the heat from the administration. So Stuart's aware of it, but I'm doing it, okay? So y'all can leave him alone, because I'm just going to take Rogers and I'm going to cut and paste it, and we're going to see if we can pass it.
What heat would you be taking from what administration? Is that a true statement? Because he knows better than that.
I'm more worried about the duplexes, because I actually asked.
Yes.
No, Mike.
Actually had this discussion with the council.
Rod, where did that come from? Rod, where did that come from? That he would take heat from an administration? You talking about me?
I think more in general, just.
It's just something to say. Okay, never mind. No, it's okay. It's okay.
I think it's,
More in general, y'all are putting this fire chief in such a position that he's got a wall stance or two, but he's got two higher ups on his fire department that he's got to make that. Y'all are putting him in the worst position. It's almost, correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. City Attorney, it's almost you're creating a hostile work environment for this man right here tonight.
Brad, you're correct. And
It's unfair.
Brad, you're
I'll testify in court for him on his behalf.
So
Brad, you're correct. This is my ordinance alone. And I'm copying Rogers, and I'm going to bring it to you, and I want you to take 3 months to consider it. And I think there'll actually be people walking around here alive by in 10 years that might not have been. And it's my ordinance. So, I've asked Stuart to help me with the commercial smoke detectors in long-term rental and short-term rental. But the Rogers ordinance will be my ordinance. I'm going to present it and ask y'all to consider it. This will save lives, and it saves lives, and it also keeps us from having to have some gigantic fire department to deal with some of these blazes that get out of control, and we can't get there fast enough to be effective, and they're too close together. And I think this is good for Greenwood and good for saving lives. And that is our purpose here: safety, health, and welfare. So,
Can we just put it on the January agenda just to hold your feet to the fire on it or whatever?
yes, if you would hold my feet to the fire on the January agenda.
I'll put it
And
on
it's
there.
it's going to be two separate ordinances in case you turn one down. Maybe I get the long-term, short-term rental, and then maybe I do get the duplexes, the sprinklers in the duplexes. So I just wanted y'all to be aware of what I'm working on. And I think it's a good time. We're having too many incidents and we're going to get caught. And when I say we're going to get caught, I mean, we're going to get caught with nobody showing up or very limited staffing. And and all y'all know that's possible. And if we can give people the best way of trying to get out and get notification and get out, they got a better chance. And we got a better chance.
Couldn't agree more. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You can't hold, I can go and talk to council. So in the past 2 years on that ordinance, I have talked to current past council about that. And some said it didn't think the duplex thing would pass, so I'm sure it reflects. And that's where I said that and just dealing with it. I've never said the mayor not support that.
No, yeah, I didn't take it that way either.
Discussion. New construction, and that's on just adding to the code.
It would be new construction and we could set a date further than when it passed to maybe, so if it passed in March, maybe we could set the date of enacting on June or something. Yeah. I wouldn't want to necessarily to catch somebody that was in the middle of building and then y'all go out there and say, oh, you got to have this. And they're like, oh man, I'm gonna have to pull out the sheetrock. This is just possible. Why'd y'all do this to me? Y'all would be in the better position at the moment of passage to say, yeah, you can put it. Yeah.
Draws the line and it's done real quick. And that way you don't have that 90-day.
Right.
Somebody done the process. If you do it with an emergency clause on, March the 1st, boom, anything that's permitted after that has to have a sprinkler system.
Right.
I think that would be the way to go. We also have, and after what we went through this last week, Hunter and I looked and made sure that any remodel over a certain dollar value that somebody is doing something with the wiring in a house on a remodel, they are going to have to hardwire smoke detectors.
Yes.
No more batteries.
No, it would, and I've even thought about, and again, this is where I was going to lean on Stuart on the smoke detectors, is where they should even be, where they should be monitored, or just stand alone, just so people can get out of the house. But those are discussions we can have for the next 3 months.
And the issue is, where's the rental house? How do we know where these rental houses? We've got Paul Rush that has probably 50-something rental houses. The only way we know is if somebody comes down here and turns the water on. Well, all of a sudden, the rental people will start adding, utilities paid. And there won't be any transfer of water or sewer. So that makes us blind again. So we've got to come up with some way that we know where these rental houses are. This is something I've always said about, storm shelters. We need to know where storm shelters are. In case we have a tornado and a house is down, we don't know if the people buried underneath there and stored in a storm shelter because we don't know if they got one. So things like that, we need to know where they are.
Can you get that to the assessor's office? When you assess, Bill?
I've actually seen Eagle Scout projects where they GPSed every storm shelter and every safe room. And
Great idea. Like I said, if somebody comes in and storms in and it levels the house, we don't know if people trapped in those storm shelters or not, because we don't know that they have one. They put them in garages, they put them in safe, I've got a safe room in my house, but Brad doesn't know that it's there. Stuart doesn't know that it's there. We can be trapped in there for hours without somebody knowing. We need to check that.
well, we got 3 months to discuss it, and we can figure out how the administration will figure out what property is actually being rented out or not.
I'll sign on that duplex deal. I think it's a great idea.
Because the occupants are just tearing them out and removing them, and if they're commercial.
Property, even the state doesn't recognize it, but real property is commercial. And when you do commercial, whether it's retail or whatever, it's your return on investment. And so you put that money up front and you charge accordingly on your rent so that you cover those costs when you build this thing. So
Well,
I'll sign on with that.
well, when I was over there calling James Griffith a slumlord and saying, show me all this, he said, do you not think it would be cheaper for me to put these commercial smoke detectors in than fix this roof where it's fixing to pour down rain in about 3 hours and I got a family that's displaced? He said, I'm all for it. So he said, in fact, y'all don't even have to pass it. I'm fixing to start doing it on all of mine. He said, especially one in the attic, because that attic's where things get out of control. And we've lost the game before we even get there. Like that one over there. Well, whatever, in the next few months, whatever you see, and if you see something, I mean, in your reading and your literature and stuff, then bring it. We'll take our time on it. We'll take 3 months.
Like I said, I'd like to see the Rogers ordinance because I would like to reinvent the wheel. If they've got a good one, I'd say, like you said, 7 pages.
Well, that's all I had. Mayor, I do not think that you've ever been non-supportive of the fire department.
Appreciate it.
You're one of the only mayors that's always come to our Christmas parties. Of
Well,
course,
it sounded like a while ago you
of course, when I'm comparing you to Dale Gabbard, I mean,
were, Bar wouldn't said hi. I
I
understand.
mean, Dale Gabbard come over and started a meeting and said, well, I hope y'all are all happy with me because I've decided not to fire all of you.
I'm similar to that.
And David Huggard looked at me and he said, I've got to leave. I said, why? And he said, you just don't know. I've got to leave right now. So, well, he did fire Stewart, but I know, yeah.
All right, Mr. Roger, you have anything for council forum?
No,
Mr. Meeker, Mr. Brown?
I just want to know about the drainage up there in Maple Ridge. I mean, where do we stand on that?
The drainage in Maple Ridge.
Yeah, it was from I got it
Mr.
from
Peters.
Mr. Peters.
Norm Peters?
Yes, Norm
Mr. Peters has told me per text, I have it on my phone. We met with Mr. Peters, actually the chief, the police chief and I met with him, not because I needed protection, but Brad was in the building and Brad is a former neighbor of Mr. Peters. I had sat with Mr. Peters for about 45 minutes in the lobby out here discussing one time. He's a really cool gentleman to talk to. He's an ex-Navy guy. He's got about 1,000 stories he wants to tell you, along with drainage issues. His issue was really a fence issue. His house, and Hunter's not here to expand on this, but he came back and visited. We were in there about an hour and a half, and we listened to Mr. Peters and he keeps the record. I mean, he's got a whole book there he can talk to you about. And he was pursuing, in my opinion, I don't know if you ever got to talk to Mr. Plummer or not. He thought our ordinance was unconstitutional, that we requires at this moment until we change it. And I think we've made some adjustments already. Well, not officially on the ordinance, but so and I'll try to sum this up as best I can. Hunter's not here. It may be not all completely correct. Hunter advised him after he pursued and acquired his fence permit, which was $25, $50. I don't know. Hunter informed him that he was going to have to move his fence, the new fence, off of the easement. There's a 40-foot, 20 on each side of a concrete, I call it a V ditch. It's not technically, it's flat at the bottom. So behind his property line, between his house and the houses behind him, is this this concrete ditch. Hunter explained to him per our ordinance, he was going to have to get off of that easement. Well, he didn't want to lose 20 feet of his yard that he'd been using for 18 years. And I understand that completely. I told him I agree with you. I said, but here's why. We, the city, it's a utility, it's a shared easement, it's a drainage and utility. I said, the point is, if we allow you to put your fence back where you have it now, and we need in there to do work, quote unquote, you have to take your fence down, or we'll do it, or not a threat, it has to come down. And he informed me very quickly, he's been there 17 years and we've never cleaned that ditch up before. And I said, you are probably correct, sir. We deemed war on drainage a few years ago, and we have a long way to go. And that's an area that we can't get to because of everybody's fence. So, yeah, he actually wanted to go farther than what he was originally. So that just threw all kinds of, and he finally, at the end of the day, and I'm not happy that he did for him. In fact, I told him, I apologize that we couldn't get anything worked out for him. I didn't help him any. He's just said, I think he's not buying a new fence. I think that's what he just decided to do. He said, it was kind of a text in the sense, my wife and I talked about it, prayed about it, and decided we can't change the form of government in Greenwood. So we're okay. So he wasn't excited and happy but I haven't heard from him since. So.
According to the street department, we can't get any kind of equipment out there to clean it out.
Yeah.
Because when they built the subdivision, they had 20 foot on each side of the ditch. Well, people started coming in and they encroached 10 foot.
Yeah. And the next
And
one.
he was wanting to go another 10 foot. Well, when he came in for his fence permit, Hunter said, well, you can't move it back there. In fact, where you're at, you're gonna have to come forward. Well, it's gonna cut out his yard, but again, according to our ordinance, he can't put a fence in that easement. And so he said, well, what are my options? I said, well, one option is don't do anything.
Yeah.
The fence is there now. Don't replace anything. Don't move it. Just, I think in our ordinance, anything over
15 feet.
15 foot, you don't have to get a permit. I said, replace your fence 15 foot at a time.
Yeah.
That's another option. I said, the third option is move it closer to your house and put in all new fence. And those three options weren't good. He wanted to go back to the ditch.
And he's,
Didn't see why he couldn't do that.
and he was clear. He was, like I said, he's a nice guy. He was very adamant about this. This is very passionate. And he said, this is not just for me. This is for all my neighbors. They can't afford to lose yard. And so, but I guess in a nutshell, he gave up, I suppose.
If you look at,
We're good.
from an aerial view, there are some of those houses that were built later on that their fences are further away from the ditch. Then as you get up to the first houses, they're closer and closer. So he's one of those that were close.
I talked to Hunter, and I don't know how that reads. And again, it's not been changed, but in my opinion, and I shared that I had just got a new fence too, and I had to buy a permit. In fact, Hunter stopped me real quick and said, you can't put the good side of on the inside anymore. You got to put them out. I'm like, well, dang it. But we did. So that was that, but I didn't lose any yard because mine was already, there's no easement behind me. And so, but this problem is all over Greenwood. It's all over any town that has not, this was my point of East Village. When we do East Village and we permit it, we allow things to be done. Let's make sure we're not allowing a fence company to come in and put a fence over an easement. And if we are, maybe the key is that there is either a gate or a section of fence that's removable, but they're still on the easement. So we're trying to keep that from happening out at East Village. The utilities are in the front out there, so you're not going to have that issue, but it's all over town. And but he's given up. And I hate it that he's given up because he's got a lot of fight in him. He may show up in a month or two. Yeah, he might regroup. I think his wife had already told him not to do it anyway. And in fact, he told us, Danielle's not here. He was here one day for the meeting with Brad and I, and he said, my wife thinks I went to Sonic or something. Oh, sorry. I'm talking about Mr. Smith. Mr. Smith. So, yeah.
So are we,
Yeah. Yeah, that's still on the plan.
I don't know whether he's still active, I know it's still on the agenda, and we will run it through there, but, he's wanting a variance, but like that, according to the text that he sent, the mayor just.
On the record, Mr. Peters did go to the Sonic before he stopped here. He just got out quicker than he
Is
thought.
this going to result in some adjustments to the ordinance that we
I think
currently have?
so. I mean, it's pretty strong.
Water and sewer, because
Yeah.
there are so many fences over their, water and sewer lines.
Yeah.
And they can't get back in there to do what they need to do because the gates are locked or they've got a fence or whatever. And so that's the reason for the ordinance, and they came up with the ordinance, and, it was passed, you guys looked at it, y'all passed it. And, it's
I think
really good for new construction, because we control that. It's the older construction.
Yeah.
When you go out to, Greenwood, and you see fences that are 3 foot from each other, in the backyard. Well, in that 3 foot, there's trees in there that big around. We can't get in there and cut them down. And the people that live there, they don't care because it's outside their fence. But they have encroached on this easement that allows the city to maintain.
And there's always the issue of it's not really gray. I think it reads something like the city is responsible for the flow of that, maintaining it for the flow.
You don't want obstructions.
And
in
you
the
don't want
flow.
obstructions. So if
Yeah.
a tree starts growing, it's kind of on us, in my opinion. And I've explained that to the street guys. But if it's just mowing it, that's not our job. So it's all over town, and Creekwood is a prime example in Indian or the flood area. Back when we did water or sewer, remember the sewer work that we did? We had a lot of discussions with neighbors about your chain link is here and it needs to be over there. So it exists everywhere. But to answer your question, I think it could take another look at the ordinance.
I don't think Hunter's in favor of a revision for that.
No, he's not too excited. And Hunter,
'Cause
by
he
the way,
sees,
Hunter
'cause what he sees,
does a great job, and I'm not just bragging on him because he's not here. He does a great job enforcing what he has. I think he feels like sometimes he's enforcing something that might be a little tough, but I think he feels this one's okay. So, he's watching. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
he's watching.
You're doing a great job, Hunter. So anyway,
I think Hunter does a good job.
oh, he's great.
And I know that he's talked to me before about
Thanks.
working on his formal education. Did you put money in the budget?
He just
for him
said
to
thanks.
Work on his education?
Yeah, he's
He's in college, we're
Yeah.
running right with it.
So we need to continue that because I think he's an asset for the city of Greenwood.
We've got a plan all the way out to graduation.
Okay.
And he's nailing it.
Okay. But we're reimbursing him or paying for his education. Okay.
I guess the
was
last
that-
thing I became aware of is this prison that's supposed to be going up in Charleston.
Mhm.
I just wanted to bring it forth to council because I just kind of heard at the last minute, and I know that they said they were having a meeting at Charleston tonight, discuss it because most of the Charleston residents weren't aware about it. And I talked to even, our representative, Gary Stubblefield, didn't even know about it till at the last minute or whatever.
Nobody. Lee,
And
go ahead.
And I was just wondering, where that they were saying that they were, looking for, support, or one way or the other, about it because something had to be done. Tomorrow, I think was it 9 o'clock?
The vote is at 9 a.m. tomorrow. They stated that it would need fire support from all surrounding fire departments. They brought that up tonight. 2,500 people in this town were at this meeting. And that's how big the town is. It's a 3,000 bed facility. They have not decided what level of offenders are going to be in the prison. So it would be the top of the offenders to the bottom that they were not talking. They said that the city in Arkansas didn't know about it until the last few days. Only they've known about it, the prison board knew about it for 90 days. And they wanted to specifically build this prison within 60 miles of any other prison. That the water support in Charleston was not sufficient even for local businesses that are already trying to get water, they don't have it. They would be depending on local police departments to help them. Definitely local fire, that they were counting on employees from Greenwood, Fort Smith, Rebecca, and all the local areas to supply employees. Their Malvern prison is only 50% of employees. They are lacking employees at their Malvern facility. The entire town was furious. They asked for this vote not to happen tomorrow at 9 a.m., but the prison board director, the head of the board, said this meeting, this vote will happen tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. They were asking the local city attorneys to write and file tomorrow before 9 a.m. to request this vote not happen.
I just don't know if Mayor, if you'd been approached by the Charleston mayor or anything about it,
No,
or needing support.
Yeah, I haven't. The only call I got was that I saw it on Facebook one morning, and Lee Johnson called me about an hour later, and I've never heard Lee quite so passionate. That's the word tonight. He was very passionate about it, and he said, "I can't." He said, "Mayor, did you get this?" And I said, "Only off of Facebook." And he said, "Me too." And he was very upset that he or Stubblefield or no other representative that he had been in touch with, or judge or mayor, had been aware of it. And he even said, I don't want to paint him in a corner, but he said, like Ms. Brown mentioned, that the correction people didn't know much about it until recently. He was pretty mad. And he said, and I get it. It doesn't matter where it goes, wherever it goes, somebody's going to be mad about it because nobody wants it near their town.
Well, that's not
His-
exactly
his-
true. Lone Oak wanted it. Lone Oak County wanted it.
Did they? Well, so his frustration was that nobody knew.
Yeah.
And so he,
So can we,
yeah, so he vented for quite a while. That was his board. And he called me back the very next day in typical Lee Johnson fashion and calmness. He said, all right, I'm not as mad as I was, but I'm still not happy that we didn't know about it. And we didn't talk long, but I have not heard from anybody. I've seen everything on the news that Ms. Brown mentioned.
If we want to say
it's a big deal.
we have our city
Yeah.
do something before 9 a.m.
So,
tomorrow.
Mayor, can we have a vote of support just for the people of Charleston that it's not a good place?
I
And then
think,
you have something, you can say, council voted and said, we support Charleston, and it's not a good place.
yeah, I tell you, the judge that I heard on the TV before I came was, can't think of his name. I know him. I see him in meetings all the time from that area. And he was very, I can't support this because one, the citizens don't want it.
Ricky Bowman,
yeah,
county judge.
Yeah, Rick, yeah.
I'll make a
So,
motion, we take a quick vote of support for the people of Charleston. It's not a good place.
It's not on the agenda.
yeah, you can't.
We're not supposed to do that.
We don't have any more time.
How about a raise of hands if you would like
It's a raise of hands.
Yes, so let's just, if you want to show support for the people to not have a thing,
Thing.
in prison, I'm sorry.
Can we not add it to the agenda?
Not
Yeah.
after the fact, I don't think, can
Well, I haven't
we?
adjourned.
Can we add it to the agenda? City attorney says, I'll make a motion, we add this to the agenda.
I think we probably.
Yeah, we've not adjourned. So motion is
Second.
made in second to add to the agenda.
All right. What do you want to call this?
Vote of support.
Vote support for the city of
For the city of
Charleston
Charleston.
in Franklin County.
In opposition of the,
In opposition of the prison. Sounds good.
Are you wanting it in a resolution?
Resolution.
Emergency
Are you wanting it in a form of a
I'll use a
resolution?
resolution.
Resolution with emergency clause. I'm just joking. I'm just joking.
No,
I wish
just
we did
resolution.
though.
This is where I grew up. That's where I was raised. As a matter of fact, it's not maybe 4 miles from my home place where I was born and raised.
Miles from their school.
Right. But I mean, I lived on out at Vesta. On up the hill there is, and then you take a right and you go down and go towards Ozark. That goes down Rainwater Hill. That's where my ancestors was.
Rainwater Hill.
It is on the other side where the Stubblefields and all. I know exactly where it's at. There's 2 lakes in there and a lot of.
You can be the go-to guy on how to escape.
That's the
Yeah,
All right.
I'll
So-
make a motion that we do this.
You want the city attorney to pen the resolution, or
Would you be able to do that?
Do
we
we-
have to have words?
Do we want a resolution or we just want to do a proclamation?
About a proclamation. What do you recommend?
That's some work.
What do you recommend?
Carry as much weight as the other one.
What would be easier for you,
The
Travis?
resolution is
Resolution would be governing our
public,
stuff.
because proclamations, we don't put them out there anywhere. Resolutions, we do. so it can be accessed online.
Well, we're making a proclamation. We're not resolving to do any city of Greenwood business by doing this.
Proclamation.
Send something to Stubblefield and all of our Arkansas representatives before 9 a.m. So they plan on being at this vote.
I can, with your help, we'll do a proclamation, a mayoral proclamation signed by myself and Charlotte, city clerk treasurer.
Did we vote?
We have not.
Okay, I'll vote yes.
I'll call for the vote. Mr. Brown,
Yes.
Mr. Meeker,
Yes.
Mr. Rainwater,
Most definitely, yes.
Mr. Powell,
Yes.
and just for fun, Mayor Kinsler.
Yes.
Well, it's unanimous.
Thank you.
Can we attach nominations for Dermont, McGee,
Yeah.
Osceola, West Helena, Lone Oak?
They have six towns that wanted it.
Yeah.
And it turned them down.
That's strange.
I'll pin it and
It-
send
I-
it to the city attorney. He can
It'll
review
be
it
a lot
and
cheaper to
then add
run,
what he
run
wants.
water and sewer to those places, I guarantee it.
There's 2 lakes up there.
All right.
Oh, I know.
Don't make
Yeah,
it
I just
easy.
did control burn for the other day.
Across the road.
Okay, anybody else, council forum? If not, I think I can entertain a motion to.
I'll make a
Oh,
motion.
I'm
to
sorry.
adjourn.
What you got?
What now?
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were pointing at the clock or something.
No,
What you got, Tom?
I'm sorry, but this time of the year, I need permission to use the B word.
Oh, we need to
I'm
make,
going to.
we need to make a budget study session.
Budget. That's the
Budget,
B word.
budget, you ready?
I'm gonna tell you where we are, because what you need to add to the agenda for December's meeting will be that budget,
Do what?
extending.
Do we have one like
Oh, a
November
temporary
16th or
budget?
something?
Do that, for next time.
You want to do it in December? We usually do it in January. Do you want to do it in December though?
In December, you have to have it so they.
For next year?
January, otherwise, January is too late.
I know, but we usually do it in January, I think. But anyway,
So here's where we are on the budget right now, where I am right now. Water has submitted their 3, sewer submitted their 2, Parks has submitted their 3 to me to be able to put into the master budget, which is ready to accept budgets. I do not have street, general is usually last because it has to see the impact of everything coming to it from the other budgets. I do not have fire, I do not have animal control. There's 2 things to consider on the water sewer side, that is it's a commission, and they are reviewing it next Thursday night. That's their budget study session, and then they will be able to approve it at their next meeting. Because this study session is not a voting. They will vote for it and pass it or not with corrections on their next meeting this month. So they'll be ready for you guys to review after the commission has passed it forward. Then you also have Parks. Parks is going to be most likely reviewing it at their next regular meeting next week. That's what I'm assuming. As far as some of the big factors, I do not, we're still talking with, just received numbers on the health insurance, the big health insurance decision that's coming up. There's some considerations. I think we're meeting tomorrow. We may not have gotten a word on that, but we need to have that resolved. COLA is a huge issue right now because it impacts all budgets. I would recommend that possibility. I'm putting the 2.5 in for the movement of
We're getting some tax prices on from AML,
pay scales,
just to
but I
compare.
do not have any indication as to what we want to do on the actual COLA that would be awarded. So right now, 2.5 is the national. I think I shared that all with you at the budget study session.
Yeah.
2.3 would be the state. 2.17 would be Greenwood, but I also gave you reasons why you wouldn't want to use Greenwood when not everybody that works here lives in Greenwood. So usually we opt to go with the state with COLA. Your purview, it's not an agenda item for this time, and we can definitely drop it in at the, after you decide at the December meeting. Something to consider. I also missed one out. I do have police's budget as well. So, yeah, police, parks, water, sewer are all in. Don't have planning either.
Missing fire, planning, and what was the other one?
street, general, fire, animal control.
Animal
planning,
control.
all the ones that I still need.
Danielle and I will, of course, we have to come in last because of, ours doesn't work.
Mention that.
But I'll get with animal control probably tomorrow or Monday or Tuesday.
You're
Sorry.
not here.
Huh?
You're not here next week.
I'm leaving Tuesday. So before this gets out and I'm accused of spending city money on this trip by not anybody here necessarily, but I've been invited to go to Tampa Bay, Florida, if it's still there, if this hurricane, hopefully it goes another direction, fully paid by Arkansas Municipal League due to my position on the executive board. They pay for Pam and I both to go to a National League of Cities conference in Tampa Bay. I'll be down there. Chiefs also going to a conference down there too, but not that one. So it's a privilege to get to go. You get to hear not just 500 cities from Greenwood or from Arkansas, but you get to coordinate and visit with cities from all over the country. So we're going to go down there and spend, I think it's 5 days. So I'll be going Tuesday through whatever that is.
You can take Tom with you.
I'd love to, but I don't.
He knows all the good places to eat.
I know. Yeah, that's true. That's true. So we're going to enjoy it, but we'll be working too. There's a lot. The agenda is full of meetings, but I'm sure we'll have some fun too. So, but AML's footing the bill
That's awesome.
for us, and we'll do it again. And by the way, and I've said this once already, but next year, when I hold the presidency, and I'm not trying to say it just because about me, but Greenwood will be in the spotlight because the full executive committee will come here for a meeting, and we'll show off Greenwood. And I hope our local pageant girl is Miss Arkansas by then. That'd be cool. But we'll show them around Greenwood and do some things. And I'm going to work with Fort Smith. We're going to probably take them to the Marshall Museum while they're here. But unfortunately, they can't bed down here. But we have talked to another hotel, which is something I'm going to come to you later about some funding to do what's it called? The study on the possibilities of the feasibility study. So, and I'll try to do that through the Economic Development Committee. But anyway, so a year from now, or a little less from a year from now, 75 to ish people will be coming here, and we'll show off Greenwood and treat them best we can. Jonas Anderson was president year before last, went to Cave City, Watermelon Festival, cave tour and all that. And that's a little town, but they did some cool stuff. Went to Magnolia this year because that's the president. Parnell Van's president, which he'll be in Tampa Bay, of course. And we did some cool things in Magnolia. So we're going to spruce up the place and treat them all like throw out the red carpet, I guess. So anyway, I'll be gone a week.
Okay, I'm glad we got that out. Now I want to go back to the budget.
Oh, I thought you were done. Sorry.
Didn't pin down
All right,
date.
when you want to do it?
So my point is that in December, it looks like that's when we're going to be having the bulk of these sessions leading into January. If we go that route, we'll have the budget approved by January 31st. Just keep in mind that you're going to be asked to go to some budget study sessions, and it would be better if more than just one that you showed up at the budget study session, because it makes my job a lot harder when I do the overall budget state of fiscal affairs presentation at the end, and then you go, why is that, why that's not in there, and you weren't here during the actual meat of the matter. Those are the times when you get to ask the tough questions, and you get to challenge, and you get to do whatever you need to do when you meet with all those directors. These are not my budgets. I'll give you the overall impact, but it is the department directors' budgets. They're the ones you need to be talking about. They're the ones you need to be directed out on questions to. Don't just look at capital expenditures, look at everything. I'll tell you one right off the bat, workers' compensation insurance this year was just about the renewal, went up significantly, $20,000 in that.
Is there a reason there?
I'll get to that.
Okay.
I just
Sorry.
want you to know what's hidden. Property, vehicle, equipment, insurances skyrocketed this year. So health insurance is nominal increase, not more than, it's right around what the normal inflation is. So those are things to consider. I know December is a busy time, but we need to knock out at least the ones from the commissions, if anything, to get a bulk of those gone. When I say water and sewer, I'm not talking one budget each. They have 3 in water, and which is water office distribution and treatment. And then sewer has sewer plant, sewer collections. And then it all rolls into the impact on the revenue stream. Not easy to project, especially when you're looking at a rate increase effective January 1 for them. Also, the Parks Commission's budget, you're looking at some major projects they're doing, and it impacts significantly some of their revenue streams. You also have to consider the fact that this is 2025's budget. In 2026, you're looking at a vote for renewal of the sales tax, which is 3 categorized into 1. And the fire is in there. So fire, parks, and street are all rolled. And you're going to be looking at really doing some hope that that gets renewed.
Yes.
That's a significant capital structure for paying their bills for capital bills.
And you mentioned last month that you were anticipating budgeting flat for this.
For,
20.
well, right now, the city sells the use taxes.
Yes.
Robust. I expect that to be the same for the next couple of years while the construction still goes on. They're looking through 25 for our part of it. And just for the information, our phase, what we wanted was phase 1, which is what they're doing now. RDOT's the one that came back and said, oh no, we already had plans for widening 10. So that's not the city doing that. That's RDOT doing that to their road. That was in the works before we even knew about it.
Mhm.
They just rolled it into a phase 2 after we approached them on our side. So just make sure people understand it's not the city widening that road. That is RDOT doing all that.
You're saying RDOT is going to go ahead and do it.
They're doing their second phase right after they finish.
As Soon as phase 1 is done, there's no rest. They go straight into 2.
I wouldn't say there's no rest. They have to make sure they do the same thing with the easements.
No, that's,
They're
So-
going to put
Their
that
plan.
out for bid too, though, right? It's not going to necessarily be the same ones with phase 1.
Officially, there still has not made a public statement that the funding is even there for phase 2. But all indications that it is. Sonny and I believe, we think we believe, or we know we believe. I don't know if you've been out 10 lately, but it's horrible
Yes.
because of all the truck traffic from
This
Pink
construction.
Butt out. It's bad. So we're in, if they don't, it would be silly to think they're going to come in here and overlay that to keep it nice for a while and then come back and tear it up to 5 lanes. So I think it'll be, last time I talked to, Jared Wiley, RDOT, he said, Mayor, I can't really say, but yeah, we'll probably get on that pretty quick.
So
So,
will there be another?
but I don't
public-
think property owners have been, approached since the public meetings. Is that right? Okay.
So
I
will
know.
there be another public meeting?
I don't think so. I don't think so. Now, don't hold me to that, but I don't think so because phase 2 was part of those public meetings. I know you were able to voice your opinion, and the other one who I talked to a lot about this is works for Chamber, not Bob, but Mark Honeycutt lives at the end of that, on the right, almost at the end, and he is not. All he knows is what you probably know about those meetings, but nobody's come to him and made a deal for the property.
Is that, you don't know if that public forum thing's still up on the RDOT site where I get on there and make comments?
I don't know. I mean, I would assume it probably is. Don't know.
I think they've got me pegged as a nut.
No. Okay.
Can we get back on the budget?
Yeah.
How about Thursdays? I mean, we just keep trailing off. on
December the
Wednesdays.
5th?
It looks like we're gonna have to do a couple of weeks.
But how about Thursdays though?
Like the 12th and the 19th.
5th, 12th,
Yeah.
19th?
Get them all in so that I can roll
Yeah.
it all in.
So you got 5th, 12th, and 19th before you get to Christmas.
What?
5th, 12th, and 19th of Thursdays, if that's,
Before you get
Is
to
that okay
Christmas.
with you?
I'll do whatever.
The 5th is the same, of course, week as a council meeting, but it's 2 days later or
You
3.
got three Thursdays there in a row.
Let's tentatively pencil those in there.
But you'll
Sounds
also
good to me.
have the ability to move into early January too.
Right.
Right.
But that gives you the first of the right before Christmas.
But Thursdays seem to be good because it doesn't interfere with church. It's not a fire meeting
Right.
night.
I'll make it.
5th, 12th, 19th, 6.
So do you want to just,
What time?
do you want to book them for 5th, 12th, 19th, all 3 in a row?
And
I can't tell you. what-
you'll tell us which ones that will
Yeah,
be.
that's okay. We'll just call it budget study session and we don't have to put a
Yeah.
department.
What it is, as it is.
Okay, and you want them to start at 6
I can start whenever.
or 5?
That's at your purview.
No, I'd say 6.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm here, so.
We will do the 5th, 12th, and 19th. We'll put that on the website and everything for budget study sessions. And we'll just do the departments as they get together. Does that sound good?
Work? Tom, at all? Okay, anybody else?
So we go back to the roads. So they're doing, looks like
Mm.
pre-bridge work on right now. So
Yeah, because,
are they gonna do phase 2 and those bridges at the same time?
no, they'll have to do,
That's phase one.
yeah, they'll open phase 1 before, I'm not the engineer on it, but they're gonna open
Yeah.
phase 1 before they widen 5-lane too.
But I mean,
Because in order to open that, I mean, when they open that, they'll close this down.
Yeah.
And replace those both bridges.
but yeah, but I guess what Ralph's saying is both those bridges part of phase 1.
Yes,
Okay.
to my knowledge.
And that's turned over to us.
Yeah.
That'll become city street.
Yeah,
10 will never become city street. It's always gonna be them all the
Right.
way out, so.
Yeah.
We don't have the responsibility to overlay that.
but yeah, you're seeing the base, them building that base for the
Mhm.
bridge, that bridge. This one, I don't know if you've noticed, I think they're just looking at how far they can come with it right away. They got flags against our drive right there.
I was
So,
seeing them.
yeah,
I was like, ooh.
yep.
Next.
Tom,
So,
I won't be here on the 5th. It's my anniversary. So
Bring your wife.
yeah,
What better way to not?
that will not work.
When?
5th.
We'll have a
Fifth.
special dinner for you.
That won't work.
The candlelight.
Do you still want the 5th?
We can dim light.
Do you still want to keep it the 5th? Just Rod can't show up?
Y'all-
I'd say yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
y'all
You're
need to
not-
keep
you're
it.
not
You run out of dates
You're
and.
not voting.
Well,
and
take
it's-
YouTube with you and open it up when you're on your dinner date and watch the meeting. So you'll be
That's
surprised.
not gonna work either. Y'all got a lot of scenarios that are not working.
Especially after tonight.
The first one, the 5th.
Especially
Yeah,
after tonight.
if water sewer's ready, that'll probably be the one we'll
You-
do. So,
That would be
You
easy.
pick them up.
Yeah.
Whichever
After
one's
what
the
she
easiest.
witnessed tonight.
Yeah.
Fifth,
Yeah, I-
water
Not
sewer.
paying attention.
No.
So you can-
That's all right.
Yes, and there's things I was curious about too. And I'm going to stop and visit with you. I'll make an appointment.
All right. Anything else? If not, I'll entertain a motion
I
to.
make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
Motion second. Thank you all. Please remember Friday night, not just because it's a football game, but it's senior night. So our football team will go through probably as much stuff that they went through that last game, so.
Oh, okay.
Your sign.
Sign.
Here's your sign.
Here's your sign.
Ooh, that one's all the way up.
Oh, no.
What they do, get hung up in
Losing
another
the
I
voice.
guess they did.
Weird.
Corey coaching. He came to that first home game. My son.